You thought that I was playing in the past. Now I'm super fast, real raw, relevant. I'm also known as super bad, with a super attitude. If you don't like it, you can book a pass and be the first in line to kiss mine. Wait a minute, what I mean is I'm a lion, not a sheep. I don't need a weakling around to try to follow me. I'm destined to be better, getting bigger every day. I don't got the patience to sit around trying to play. Focus.
I was having that, this is the techie stuff where he's like, you have to clap and you're on. I was sitting in that trailer park having that epiphany.
Oh, okay.
Where I'm like, dude, you gotta lean up and talk into the microphone. We don't have really fancy mics. Having that epiphany that I'm like, dude, I'm 38. I'm sitting here like, this is the life, man. This is what I want to do, like being at a trailer park. My friends, welcome to the Revolution Podcast. I am Sean Whalen. We are live. Thank you for all the support with the podcast. I really appreciate it. You guys are freaking badass. All the comments, all the messages, all of the, especially on YouTube, where I read a great book, Steal Like an Artist. I've been looking at what the gurus, the kingpins, the founders of podcasts have been doing, guys like Joe Rogan, and I've been doing a lot of stuff like he's doing this thing for YouTube, and then also doing the audio and stuff. So all the comments that I get on YouTube are pretty badass. There's obviously some haters every now and again, but anyways, I just wanted to say thank you guys for the support of the podcast. It's fun. It's getting more fun. It's getting more engaging, more exciting, and so I appreciate you. But I was watching Joe Rogan the other night, and Garrett and I were just talking about this. My friend Garrett's here, and I'm going to have him tell you a little bit about who he is in a minute. But I was watching Joe Rogan, and I was watching him with Gary Vee. Yeah. And dude, he's done podcasts with everybody. He did a podcast I remember watching a long time ago with Roseanne Barr, and it was the funniest shit because they were talking about getting high, and I'm like watching Gary Vee, thinking about like just the dichotomy of the two people, like Roseanne Barr
on the spectrum
to Gary Vee to all of these different introspective business builders, people that are, athletes, just all these different people that he's talked to. And I think it's fascinating. I think the format of podcast is a riot because you can just sit down and talk about who the hell knows what. And it's fun, right? Like there's you and I are in the marketing game. We're used to like, there's a message and then there's this, and then there's like all of these patterns and steps where podcast is just like, what do we want to talk about? Obviously there's an objective and you want to like share things and learn things, but this is why I love this format of podcasting,
Yeah, I think when I look back 2008 days of podcasting, everything was just came from teleseminar. Is that better?
Yeah.
From teleseminar days to podcasting, but there wasn't the visual, there wasn't the cameras.
Yeah.
And I guess it's been around for a while, but I'm seeing it more and more where you can hear it and you can watch it depending on
you can
adjust the content however you need to digest it.
You can listen to it in your car. I love watching stuff. I love the interaction of like Joe Rogan and other people, like the people that he has on. And Joe's a cool guy. At some point, I said this, I've declared this to the universe that I'd be on his podcast at some point in time this year, which I'm sure is going to happen somehow, some way. The stars are going to align. But like, I just love watching people engage, right? Like I love the visual of it. You're not staring at it, but I can listen to it on the airplane or whatever. But it's just rad engaging with people. It's rad having conversations. I am enjoying more and more of meeting with different people. I had this girl on who was this radical feminist before. In fact, Dallas actually emailed this lady, because I'm a big medical marijuana fan and advocate, and I shouldn't say advocate. I'm not really an advocate. I'm a supporter of it. I'm open to the conversation. I share stuff, and I had Dallas start reaching out to people that I wanted to have on the podcast. I was like, I want engaging people that are leading conversations, leading thought ideas of different things. And so she reached out to this lady who's running this group, Truce, which is like this medical marijuana organization. And the lady responded back and said, he's too abrasive. He's too abrasive. I don't know that it's...
Can't imagine why she'd say that.
Yeah, but it's exposure. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Just because I say fuck or I like shoot a gun or whatever, I mean, let's be serious for a second. Like we can have humble conversations about Jesus and whatever the hell else we want to, and, medical marijuana. But anyways, I thought today's conversation would be cool just because the conversations you and I had, like the last couple weeks have been really cool. Like I've been kind of going through this interesting shift. I was talking to Greg at the gym this morning, and he's kind of in the same spot. Like there's this shift of masculinity happening in our society, which we've been talking about. I've talked about a lot on the podcast. I've talked a lot about that on my videos, about just this radical shift of masculinity that has been highlighted by Trump, highlighted by this guy who's not afraid to talk about tits and pussy and whatever else. And he's kind of brought in this not that that's like the definition of masculinity is tits and pussy, but it's definitely one of the more poignant points of that.
It's like, what?
Yeah, people are like, oh, so tits and pussy are like the definition of masculinity, huh? No, but I mean, he's opened up the conversation of like of masculinity, of being more of a man, of owning more of who you are.
Owning
Stop
your space.
relying on people. Stop being a freaking victim. Stop like bitching and moaning. Really, it's been completely against and in the face of everything that we've been involved with since I was a little kid. This whole feminist movement of just tattle and tell on everybody, and if you feel sorry or if your feelings are hurt, go run and find yourself a little corner and wrap yourself in a blanket until you feel better, and then blame other people. And if you're broke, it's got to be somebody else's fault. If you're fat, it's somebody else's fault. It's McDonald's fault or whatever. Like, I completely disagree with that. I mean, the idea of masculinity to me is not just like cutting fucking heads off and blood and carnage on your hands, but like truly owning who you are. Like owning the words that come out of your mouth, owning your feelings, owning your sensitivity, owning your femininity, owning your masculinity, owning your family, owning, who you are and what creation you're putting into this universe versus, it's really the simplest way to look at it for me is you're creating what you want versus thinking that you're just part of this existence. You know what I mean? I don't believe that we're here to just kind of meander through life being told what to do, told what to feel, and then we roll over and die. I mean, you and I have had conversations. I mean, we're gods. We have the ability to create life. We have the ability to be able to create literally any type of reality that we want.
What did Jason Silva say? He said,
that guy blows my mind.
yeah, I'm a big fan of Jason, but he's, and I'll slaughter the quote, but we're discovering more and more that we are gods. We better start acting like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you put some thought into that.
Well, nobody puts thought into it. And this is why I want to share what you just went through, because it was really fascinating. This is like what I want to get into, because I've been down the same road in a different way, in a different light. And I think everybody has to do that. You have to put the thought into it. There has to be, in my opinion, a desire, not necessarily for change, but for more. People think change, well, I have to start thinking this way to get this, or I have to do this. And my thought process with this is like just wanting more. Like, I want more. I wake up every single day like contemplating how much deeper can I go? What more is there today that I can learn? Dude, we haven't found the bottom of the ocean yet. Like, we don't even know where the cosmos go. Yeah. Like, we have no clue. We've shot rockets out there and they're still fucking sailing.
We don't even know where this came from.
Dude, for the whole concept of like knowledge. And I talked about this on one of my last podcasts about your brain, and this is like a never-ending computer. See, I can go buy a Mac and I can put all this dope data on there and all these cool things, and then all of a sudden, bing, I reach my limit, and that's it. Yeah. And I got to pull other shit out in order to put more on or put different on. Where your brain, your consciousness, your knowledge, your mind, there's no limit. Like, there's no, like, this is a never-ending computer that's constantly creating its own little algorithms, its own little things, its own data, its own marketing, its own whatever. And like what Jason Silva said, what you said, I mean, I think the idea and the thought process of just being limited and thinking, I'm here to just go to school, get a job, work, find a chick, crank out a couple of kids, live in the neighborhood, serve on the PTA, get a gold watch when I retire, sit in a rocking chair. Maybe if I'm lucky, I'll have a vacation property that I can, skate off to, and then die. It's like the most morbid thing I could think of, but that's what we're programmed to believe in. And that's not wrong. It's not bad, but what we're talking about and what I want to talk about today is like the desire for more. Yeah.
Well, you said so many things I want to hit on, but on that timeline of that individual's life, it's like he lived an obedient life, but he didn't live a loyal life. Right? So I was obedient to what culture, what maybe a faith, whatever it is, whatever society expected of me. I was obedient to those things, but I wasn't loyal. I did it because the rules.
Right.
I didn't do it because it brought on
something
expansion
to you
and life into me.
Yeah.
And so it's a matter of discerning between those two things. And it's funny you bring up the Mac and the computer. I've been trying to figure out the process that happened to me over the last 2 months. And what was it? And I look back at other processes that happened to me. The best thing I can come up with is I got a new iOS update, right? And you don't know when they're coming. You just get the notification on your phone.
Yeah, they just pop up,
and you can
download.
It's like
it.
a little trick to like not have to download it.
Yeah,
right. And I think we all play those tricks by not having to download the new update.
You're worried about what's going to happen. You're worried about, is this going to crash? Is that app going to work?
Yep.
Is it going to slow shit down? So and so said so and so didn't like it, and then all of a sudden they lost their Instagram, and then this thing happened, and there's all this crap, and you're like, oh shit, I don't want to download this update. Dude, to kind of preface before I want you to share kind of what you went through. Garrett and I have known each other for years and have been involved in the same kind of space, a lot of mutual friends and stuff. And we've hung out and shared whiskey and cigars and traveled and done some stuff. But I'm finding more and more, like, the more introspective I am, the more I go on this journey in my own mind and my own soul, I'm connecting with more and more people that are doing the same thing.
Right.
And it's fascinating because you don't just go on to YouTube or to Facebook and search out, enlightened people, conscious people that have been, there's all these groups of like,
I've done that.
Like consciousness. Work. Yeah. And it's very, very, very easy to share these words and share these phrases and share these ideas of conscious, like Jason Silva, dude, I don't even know what frequency he's operating on. I think the coolest experience would be to get absolutely stoned out of my mind with Jason Silva and Joe Rogan and just sit there and talk.
Yeah.
Like who the fuck knows where this conversation is going to go, but just to experience that. But those are guys that, in my opinion, like if you look at Joe, if you look at Jason, they're on a quest. And I was in this lifestyle of building my business, making millions. I had the house, I had the cars, I had the boat, I had all of the shit that was socially successful, that was economically successful.
Our culture says this is what you need to do.
Yeah, this is
I've been on that
dude.
path.
Everybody, look at Sean. He lives in the big house on the hill. He's got 4 vacation homes. He's got a big, huge boat, and the family and the whole thing. And deep down, I was miserable. Deep down, I couldn't. You know what I mean? I couldn't understand. I couldn't figure it out. Was it bad? Was it religion? Was it God? I don't know. But it just, and that's kind of what led to my shift, my midlife crisis, my breakdown, my whatever you want to call it, where I burned everything to the ground. I burned the business, I burned this. And I went up into the wilderness, what I call my wilderness, but I did it because it was cool. I did it because after I got divorced and I moved into this little teeny condo, it was like, all right, I'm going to go up in the wilderness and I'm going to go on my own journey, right? And I'd go up there and I'd sit, and it wasn't authentic. It wasn't for this purity of like...
You wanted to control an outcome.
Clear, I still wanted to control it. But the last couple of years have been really interesting because I'm learning that, like, the more I just shut the fuck up and listen, the more I'm learning. And we hear that, we're taught that, but I'm a motor mouth, I'm constantly going. But like the more I quiet down, the more I'm understanding and learning. Yeah. But yet the more I also speak and the more I engage and the more I put out there, the more I'm learning as well. But like, I really truly believe that what you said, in quoting Jay Silva is people have to have a desire to like really want something more. And that might be because I just got divorced and it hurts and I'm lying, telling everybody I'm good when I'm not, because I'm an alpha male and I can't have sensitivity and I can't have feelings and I can't tell people how I really feel because I got to be dope, right? I got to be a badass. I got to keep making the money and throwing this alpha around.
They lie about masculinity.
Oh, and they lie, the whole thing. But deep down, it's like they want to just close up shop and crawl under a blanket. And I felt like that for a long freaking time. And I put on the face and I put on the facade.
Yeah.
But the idea and the notion of like truly deciding like, dude, there's got to be more to this. It flies in the face of everything we've ever been taught. It flies in the face of what is, quote, socially acceptable. And
takes courage.
Yeah, it takes courage. But I think, the definition of insanity is banging your head against the wall over and over and over again, expecting to get a different result. I took that one step further. And I'm kind of proud of my quote. People like did a meme on it. It's floating around. It's kind of cool. The definition of stupidity, in my opinion, is watching somebody get massive results and not copying what they're doing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, we're watching people, whether it's in work, whether it's in the relationship, whether it's business, whether it's physical. Like, if you're watching a dude get totally yoked and jacked at the gym who used to be 350 pounds eating cheeseburgers all day long, and now all of a sudden he's getting ripped, and you're still over here doing your shit, not trying to figure out what he's doing, what he's eating, how he's lifting, the whole thing. That's just fucking stupid.
But Sean, if that would be uncomfortable.
Yeah. Then you'd have to actually have humility and say, "Hey, man, can you teach me? Can you help me?" But I'm really fascinated with this conversation because I think this is the cultural shift we're going through. And I think that more and more people are opening up to this conversation. I think guys like Joe Rogan, guys like Silva, guys like who's the really, he's done stuff with Jason Silva, the black guy, Neil Tyson. What's his name? Neil something something. Huh? Neil Tyson deGrasse. Yeah, he's freaking deep, dude.
So I don't know him.
Oh, you got to check out his. Yeah, okay. Astrophysicist. But I've listened to some of his stuff with Silva, and they're like. They're not even on the same realm. Like they check off and they go into the cosmos and they start talking about shit and I'm like, what the fuck did they just say?
See,
whatever they just said though, it's really, really cool and I want to know more about it.
I've never even watched Joe Rogan's podcast.
Oh, dude.
I had no. I don't follow. I follow Jason. That's about it. I got a lot of growing to do.
Well, and that's the thing. Like I think this is going to be a freaking fun conversation because you just went on your own little journey and it wasn't like okay, I'm going to go down into South America and I'm going to go on this freaking experience. Yeah. But I watched it on social media and I watched what was going on. I knew you were down there and you're doing a work thing and the whole thing. And then you're like kind of disappeared and you didn't come home. And then it was like, I'm on this journey and you kind of threw little tidbits of it out there, but I could, and I told you this when you came back, like I could tell the energy. And it was really cool because there were a lot of people like, hey, dude, you cool? Like, you all right? Is everything okay? And I'm kind of sitting back going like, cool. Yeah, cool. Like I knew like there's something happening in his brain and his soul and his psyche that it's like, it's time. Yeah. Like, and you saw it, you felt it. And I think the people that were, call it conscious, call it aware, whatever, were kind of watching that. And I said that to you. I messaged you. I'm like, dude, good for you.
Yeah.
Like, good for you.
The right people reached out and you did.
Whatever you were doing, good for you. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think that's what's fascinating is with your story and you know, going through separation and shifting up in business and stuff like that. Like, why did you decide to stay down there? Share a little bit about what you did, what happened, like
the timeline of it.
You went down. Where did you go?
I was in Panama.
You were Panama for business.
Yeah, it's in Panama. Well,
start there.
To be honest, it started with the Mint 400.
You came down to Vegas to the Mint.
It started in the Mint.
And hung out with us at the Mint for our race.
I was there with you guys for 2 or 3 days, and then I went and stayed. My good friend Rigo invited me to stay with Tony Shea at his, if you guys know who Tony Shea, Zappos.
Which, by the way, I want to go check that out.
Yeah, really neat experience. The guy has lives in a trailer park, Airstream trailer park. And my good friend Rigo invited me in, and I just stayed a while, right? I just stayed. And I decided to book my flight to Panama because I had some business in Panama. And I decided to book that from Vegas, forgetting I need a passport. So I was like, oh, crap. So I had to hurry and book a flight home to Utah, get my passport. In 2 hours, get back, Uber to my home, get my passport, immediately order Uber, get back to the airport, and fly to Panama. We need those digital, by the way. And so
passports, yeah.
I go to Panama, business, whatever. And this is when it started. So that's kind of the timeline how I got there. I fly into Mexico City, and my flight is delayed to LA, then back home. And I have to stay the next day till I think 8 p.m. before the next flight goes. I'm my furious, controlling self. I'm upset. I have things to do. I have to control everything because I am in charge. And I'm leaving out an important part that led me to this, but I read a very important book that I want to encourage everyone to go and read, or at least study into, and it's called The Surrender Experiment. And the Surrender Experiment, I was getting into yoga, and I wasn't sure about yoga. It wasn't my, let me turn this off. It wasn't my natural, like what I thought I would want to be in. And it surprisingly grasped me in ways I didn't expect. Well, this book was about a guy who owned a tech company and did yoga, and he married the two together. I thought, okay, this is interesting. I'm in this, I'm in marketing tech, and, I'm trying to understand yoga. Maybe I could read this guy's story. And it rattled me. So it's it's his step-by-step process, and I'll kind of explain how my process happened. I was really upset. I sit in the airport chair just like this, and I was mad, and I'm sitting there. I'm stuck in Mexico City, which in my mind was a giant Tijuana, and nothing's further from the truth. But I mean, all of us that grew up down here, we all have gone to Tijuana trips, and it's chaos. And I'm just thinking, I'm going to be stuck in this chaos for, a day. And I'm sitting in my chair, and I'm like, wait, I just read about this, but I've never been able to practice it. So I'm still, I just get still. I order an Uber, and the guy must have been inspired, because I said, I just need to go to a hotel. I don't know the city. He spoke a little English. And he takes me to a place called Roma in Mexico City. I get a hotel. I think I did a lot of Instagram stories. It's kind of my thing. And I was like, hey, I was showing the hotel. It's a really cool place for, I think, like $60 a night, which in the US I would have spent $400 a night for. And I woke up in the morning, and I started walking around to go get breakfast just out in the streets. And I could not believe what I was seeing, Sean. Like, no one told me what Mexico City was. No one told me what Mexico was. My vision of Mexico is entirely different, or was entirely different than what Mexico is. And I started walking around, and I just fell in love. It was the most romantic city I've ever seen. The cafes, restaurants, the people, the culture. I mean, it's a city in a jungle, and there's flowers everywhere. It's just this place, this energy there. And so this is where it started. And I don't know how deep you want to go, but it gets really deep, and it gets really intense. I decide, do I dare stay another day? Mind you, 24 hours, I was really upset that I had to stay an extra hour. And here I am shifting. Do I dare stay another day? So I call my kids, we FaceTime, we're talking a little bit, and it's school. I mean, I'm kind of irrelevant anyways. I mean, they're busy playing. So I decided I'm comfortable to stay another day. So I delayed my flight, and I stay another day. As I go through my story, I'll just tell you, I booked my flight home 6 times and canceled them every time. So I start walking through Mexico City, and I walk every day for about 5 miles a day with my suitcase. I mean, I don't know. I just know I woke up the next day, Sean, and I healed, and I felt better than I thought I could. I just knew something happened, and I wanted more of it. I didn't know what was it.
Like, what do you think it was? Because I've experienced that.
It was surrendering.
It's hard to explain to people. It's hard to explain this because I think so many people are after that. People want the aha moment. Yeah. Like, oh, shit, there it is. We want to just be spoon-fed, served, told, here's what it's going to feel like, here's what it's going to be. And I've had that experience before where everything just makes sense. You're like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
That's why this happened. So, like, you're in Mexico City, you're walking around.
I'm just walking down the streets.
That happens.
I mean, I'm like, I look at my phone, I'm like, here's a great museum. I'll walk to it. And I walk and I walk. And I didn't know what was happening, but I needed to walk off some stuff. Like, now that I look back, I don't know how I got to that point, but I knew now I can look back what happened because I was preparing for something.
And here's what I think is really interesting about you and about the story and about the whole thing is you and I and a lot of the people we hang out with are very similar. We've been successful in business. I mean, not to throw anything out there presumptuously or whatever, but you've made good money. You have big house, the toys, the things, boat, truck, all of the things that I think there's a lot of misconceptions by people that there's just, you got to be this fucking hippie walking around. I mean, you do kind of look like Jesus in a sense, which I suggest you put your name in like some acting things and maybe play Jesus for Christmas. But the reality is I think a lot of people think, especially alphas, especially men, think that you've got to become this soft, feminine fucking pussy that just has to be like, oh my God, my life, and rub crystals on your balls and put flowers on your nipples, and now all of a sudden everything's just going to become. But, I mean, I've never rubbed crystals on my balls, but I mean, who knows? I'm open to whatever. Maybe that helps. I don't fucking know. But I think like what's really interesting is knowing you, and not very many people know you. You're not that hippie dude. You're not the dude that's going to go. I mean, you read books for education, for enlightenment. I started doing yoga because it was good for my body because I'm 38 and I have zero like flexibility. Yeah. And so they're like, do yoga. And I started doing yoga and it makes my body feel better. That step alone is like huge for some men. But I think what's really interesting to note is like, you didn't go to Mexico like on this hippie spiritual, like let's just freaking smoke peyote all day with a bunch of other freaking broke ass tree huggers that are all chained to a tree that are like trying to freaking find their quote inner peace and their Zen moment and bullshit like that. Like you're very much an alpha business owner, dad, father, man, husband, like building a business, making lots of money, doing all that.
Yeah, I'm a
that
capitalist.
shit. I'm capitalist. I mean, an alpha male.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the shift that's happening.
Yeah. So where was I? So I'm walking, and now, like I said, looking back, I understand what was happening. I was shedding a skin. I need to walk some stuff off. Like, walking is a very sacred thing that I didn't know was a sacred thing until I went through it. So I walked a lot. And I just surrendered. And I know when people hear this, like, what the hell does that word mean? Because I would have heard this a year and a half ago, and I wouldn't have known what that word meant. And it wasn't until I read this book that I started understanding a little bit more. So this is when magic started to happen. And it started happening, call it God in her infinite wisdom, the universe, whatever you want to say. Some very key individuals start reaching out to me online, and I start running into what the hell, I can't believe I ran into this person in Mexico City. Like, things were happening. I don't know how they happened. I wasn't looking for them. Look, we all go to like a place or wherever, a vacation. We want to have an experience. We all want to have a connection. We all want to have an experience. We want to have something inside of us that makes us feel a certain way and to grow and expand, but it doesn't really work that way. You know, and I think you just need to be ready for it. And then as it comes up, you surrender to it. And so I start running into people. It'll be a long story if I tell everyone, but basically I ran into a person that worked for the Obama administration, very closely with President Obama. And Uber had recruited her to come in and open all of South America for Uber. And they own stock in Uber. I'm just rubbing shoulders with some people that I'm like, how did I get here? Like, what the hell? This is fantastic. And I'm learning a lot. And we're talking a lot. And I helped out with the Trump campaign. She obviously worked on the Obama campaign. And we both were like, you're right. And you're right. Like, we just had this, like, we understood each other from a business and from a, this is what's really happening with our country point of view. So that happens, and I'm walking, I'm going along, and I'm meeting people, and they're saying along the lines of, I feel like you should go here. I say, okay. And I open my Google Maps, and I put a star at that place, and I put a note, whoever told me to go there, and I walk, and I go. Well, at one point, someone says, I don't even know who. I think you need to go to this little surf village. You look like you're ready for it, whatever that means. And surfed a little bit in South Africa and lived in California, surfed a little bit. Not a great surfer, but I enjoy it. I love wake surfing. I did that all summer. So I go. Oh, and then I missed something that's really important that happened. That someone else reached out to me through a message, and I didn't even know this person followed me. It was a big deal to me that this person reached out to me. All these little things are happening as I'm just still, and I'm just walking, going through my process. I end up going to a place to surf, a little surf village, tiny little dirt road surf village, very hippie place. Staying in these hostels, which I swore I would never do. I would never do this. I just, like, we talk about like what people think that this whole process has to be. You have to be this hippie tree hugger person. I was the guy. I will never stay in a hostel. That is freaking ridiculous. And I'm really happy there. So now there's this conflict, right? What I thought I needed to be versus where I'm happy. So which one do? I stick with ego, or do I stick with happiness? So these great relationships are being built. I'm meeting these really cool people. Every time I went to a new place, Sean, I wanted to control the outcome. I wanted to have an experience. And I never did. I had a miserable experience. Because whatever it is that I am trying to control, whatever it was that I was trying to, the outcome to be, it doesn't exist. Of course I'm never going to be happy with the outcome because I projected it in my head and said this is what it needs to be, but it doesn't exist, so it's never going to be that way, so of course you're never going to be happy. Well, that's the story of the last 15 years of my life. Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get the boat, and this is going to happen. I'm going to do this, and then this is going to happen.
And this is the boating experience I'm going to have with the boat.
Right.
And it wasn't that way,
right.
And it's their fault.
It's funny, like you and I've been smiling since the last couple weeks since you and I have been talking, because I went to Burning Man last year or 2 years ago, and again, all Burning Man is just sex and drugs, and it's just this thing, which couldn't be any further from the truth. I mean, the Google execs, like there are billionaires that set up camp there that are riding around naked on bikes that you have no clue.
There's Tony Shea, those guys in Rigo said, come to Burning Man.
I met guys that were there. Literally, I'm sitting down in this little spot having dinner with 4 of like the most flaming gay guys I've ever seen in my entire life, which I have no issue. I mean, my father's homosexual. I have zero beef with gay, but they're all like 9-figure guys from New York City, which you're looking at them and it's like this, just the projection. I'm expecting this. But the second day I was there, like I hated it. I was like, this is fucking stupid. I'm riding my bike around. This is fucking dumb. Why am I here? And I bump into a buddy of mine and I'm like, dude, I'm bouncing. I'm going home. Like, this is stupid as shit. Like, what the fuck is this? And he's like, dude, chill, man. Like, just enjoy it. Don't expect anything. Meet someone with no expectation. He's like, ride out into the playa and go do these things and just don't have any expectation. Just go do it. And I went out that afternoon to the playa, like 5 miles out, and the playa is just in the middle of nothing. And like, I lay down in the dirt for like 6 hours and I'm just staring at the clouds. And it was like the coolest experience because it was like
you're just there and you were
just there. And there was no expectation. There was no cell phone service. There was no anything.
I'll tell you, as a man, it shifted. And as a man, that masculine energy, that's where you need to be.
And it shifted my entire concept. And I absolutely love the rest of Burning Man because like all of those other experiences with people that I met, whether they looked like this or sounded like this or thought this, there was like no expectation. And that was where like I truly fell in love with the idea and the concept and the notion of just like being the complete opposite of how I'd ever been, like judgment wise. Yeah. This is why I love sitting down. I can sit down with a liberal. I can sit down with anybody, anytime. I sat down with a radical feminist and we have a conversation where most people are like, fuck you, this is the deal, bah, this is my agenda, this is my platform, and if you don't believe it, fuck you. Where I'm kind of like, cool, man, I just want to know, like, why do you want to do that? So like that entire notion of meeting someone that's on the polar opposite or has no real energy, or I shouldn't say energy, but connection with thought process, like thinking the exact same, but yet you can sit down and talk and have a conversation, but not have the expectation. Like, I don't know what the outcome is going to be of this conversation. Like, I told you in the podcast, I don't know. Let's just talk. You're like, what's format? What do we want to do? I'm like, bro, just come. We just turn on the mics and we just start talking. That's what I love about this format is I don't have a script. I don't have questions to ask people. I'm like, let's just talk. You know what I mean? And see what comes out of it. And it always ends up being something that you didn't otherwise expect, but it ends up being what should be.
What should be. Yeah. The value of what should be. So I'm not happy in these places. Every time I go to a new place, and every night I live in a different home. Every night I stay in a different house every single night. If you look at my Airbnb like thing, it's like insane. And some nights there wasn't Airbnbs, there were just like these hostels, these village things. And anyways, so this is when everything starts happening. I'm in this little surf village, and I'm hanging out with people that I normally wouldn't hang out with, because I don't think that maybe they would throw value into my life. And that was wrong of me. So I'm having a really tough time at the end, and I'm deciding, I guess it's time for me to go home. And this is 15 days in, maybe 14, or I don't know how many days in.
Which I think this is cool to note, is you went down for a weekend business deal, and you ended up walking through Mexico for 21 days, right?
Yeah.
3 weeks. Yeah. I mean, you walked through Mexico with no hotel, with one bag for
one bag with luggage with all my crap. Which is
3 weeks.
Yeah, which is another important thing. I wanted to get rid of my suitcase. I didn't have a backpack. I had a freaking roll-on suitcase, right? And it was such a symbolic thing of everything that's weighing down my life is stuff that I think, material things I think is important. And I don't mean that in a hippy-dippy way. I mean,
no, trust me, we're going to talk about this because I'm fucking fascinated with this idea.
So I'm at this place, and it's a beautiful place. It really is. It's stunning. And this is when things really start happening at a faster speed. And I'm realizing every step took me, I had to go through a process to be prepared for the next thing. And I had to go through that got me there, but what got me there won't get me here. And I had to work at things. I had to learn to surrender deeper. I had to go deeper. And that took me to the next thing. I walk out in about 100-yard radius. I'm laying in some hammocks, and I'm just sitting there. And I tell myself all the time, I get this anxiety. I want to control it. I want to have the experience. I want to have this. I want to have that. Go sit for 10, 20 minutes. You can call it meditation. You can call it whatever you need to. I decided to sit in this hammock, and I'm laying there, and I'm getting in a state of relaxation again. And I'm getting to a state of where I'm content. Just let go. Just let go. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, these two people get up that I didn't even realize were there. They were like kind of where this couch, the sofa is. There's like shrubs and trees. They were there just, hanging out. And this girl goes, "Hey, how are you?" I was like, "Oh, she speaks English. Oh, hi, great." It kind of startled me. I didn't expect that. And she says, "Hey, I just got out of silence for 10 days, and I really want to talk to someone." All right. Silence for 10 days. Okay. So we're sitting there talking, having this conversation, and we're talking for quite a while. And she just kind of stops and says, "I'm supposed to invite you with us. You need to come to this place with us. If it's right for you, you'll understand. If it's not, you have to go." What? Sorry, what? Like that? This isn't. This
isn't normal life.
This isn't
dude.
like this doesn't happen.
This is
Right?
not how it works at Starbucks,
right?
in Utah.
No, it's not at all. In fact, it's the very opposite.
Yeah,
of such.
get the fuck out of my way. I'm trying to get my creamer.
Yeah. So I just got done telling myself, if I need to go, I'll go. Go surrender. Just go sit. Just be where you on the playa. That moment of you on the playa. That's the moment. And if whatever comes will need to come. And I just had to say, what? Okay. Because I just told myself, if whatever needs to come will come. Next morning, we get up, we get on this rickety old bus, and we travel a couple hours. And we get from there, we get off on this little stop, buy some fruit because we're hungry. And that's the other thing, my diet completely changed, which changed a lot of elements. Like when your diet changes and you go through that, like everyone tries to do a cleanse, right? Well, this is a cleanse that it's just the foods that you're eating. Like the whole thing of diet matters. And we get on this little buggy thing, and we're driving down these roads, and people are getting on, people are getting off. I'm standing up in this little tent truck thing, and her name's Paige, and Paige goes, "Hey, Garrett, this is where you get off." Assuming this is where we get off.
Yeah.
I get my stuff. They're still sitting there. Her and her friend Yasmin is from. She's Dutch. I forget where. Anyways, but she goes, "This is where you need to go and see if you should be here." I don't know where I'm at all. Like my GPS isn't working. I don't I don't know where I'm at in Mexico. And she's just like, "If you're meant to stay, I'll see you in a couple days, and it will work for you." Which is the craziest thing. All right. So I'm walking along with my little puppy suitcase thing, tagging it along like I always have been. And I'm hungry, so I find this little place. They make me this little bowl of fish and this food, and it's wonderful. And I'm pretty miserable, though, because I'm not having this really magical, spiritual, whatever experience that I'm supposed to be having, because I want to control it to have it. And I don't know how deep I should go, but so I go and I get a place, find a little place to stay, and I'm just not feeling it, man. I'm just not feeling it because I'm not having what I thought I was supposed to have. The way that she said, "I think you need to come with us." Like I'm thinking that I'm going to go somewhere so special and sacred or something. I don't know. I project, right? Something's going to save me. So I decided I'm 2 days into this. It's all right. I'm walking around. I'm seeing all these people. I mean, these people are the most beautiful, stunning people. From the men to the women, everyone's just radiating with light. And I'm just I want to be a part of whatever this is. And I'm not a part of this. So I keep to myself, and I go on a little hike, and I come down to this little beach. I'm secluded, probably no one for 500 yards. And I'm sitting there. I'm in the sand just watching the waves. And I see this stunning girl. She's smiling. She's waving. I'm like, what? Right? Immediately my energy does what us men do. And it's go pursue or whatever, control the situation. And I just caught it again. Right? So I'm starting to catch these things. I'm starting to catch it. Just be. Go back to the playa. Just be. Whatever is meant to come in your life will come into you in your life. I'm sitting on the beach and I'm kind of back in my state, and I just wait here 10, 15 minutes. Just be. I'm kind of back in there. I'm feeling it again. I'm there. And I hear a voice behind me. And it's this dude named Ricky. Okay. Yeah, a little twist of the story.
You should
right?
write a book about this, dude.
A lot of people have been asking me. This is the first time I've really publicly documented this.
Yeah.
Stuff, and I don't know how deep I should.
And we're probably catching like the tip of all of it.
Yeah, and I'm debating if I should get to this.
No,
next
dude,
part.
I love this because this is why I want to have this conversation is like because I think there's an energy, there's something beyond this, because what we were talking about the other day is the Airstream and simplifying life, and we'll get to that. The whole journey, like I think there's so many people that like want to do this, they just don't fucking know how.
And I didn't either.
Because you think Burning Man is just drugs and sex and this and that and the other, and maybe it is. I don't fucking know. Maybe going to Mexico and walking around for 3 weeks is just fucking weird and it's dangerous, and the cartel might kill you, and who the fuck knows. But like what I am experiencing and what I'm aligning up with you and other people is just like, not just the word surrender, but there's just a desire for more. It's like, I'm sick of fucking.
We all want to be awaked.
Everybody wants to like wake up, but because we're in this, we've been sedated. Like we're just walking around like a bunch of zombies, 300 million people just kind of like doing the same thing, saying the same thing, fucking the same way, earning the same way, eating the same shit, doing the same shit. And it's just becoming this like monotonous. We're not living. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you got to grow a beard and long hair and look like Jesus and disappear into some freaking random mountains. No. Maybe that's your cup of tea, maybe not. But like, I think what's cool about this entire conversation, like Dallas said, it's fascinating because everybody, there might be a nugget here that somebody's like, oh shit, I register, that registers with me. And then they take that nugget and they go do something. And then that just spreads. That's why I love social media. That's why I love sharing what I'm sharing. That's why I love this podcast format, is because I don't know what comes from this. People are like, dude, it's about two freaking bearded weirdos just talking for 2 hours about who the fuck knows what. Cool. But then there might be
those with ears
4 or 5 people that'll be like, holy shit, it's okay for me to like go do this.
Let me tell you, Paige. Right?
So talk about, was it Ricky?
Let me go back just a little bit. Remember Paige?
Yeah.
We're sitting there having this conversation before she says, I think you need to come with us.
Yeah.
Okay. We're having a pretty good conversation. And she said, hey, the biggest thing I've learned in my journey here, and she's from the U.S., is a quote. And I posted it, and it said, what you're looking for is what's looking. Okay? What you're looking for is what's looking. Meaning, if you'll go and you'll take it takes courage. You'll go and you'll go out to discover, it's looking for you too. Mm-hmm. And but it takes time, and you have to, like I said, I had to walk some stuff off for a couple days. And
what's interesting is like, I believe that more than probably most other things that I could orate to people is like, we're both fans of Gary Vee. We both know Gary, and Gary is like that fucking build it, go, accomplish your dreams. I mean, Lewis Howes, Andy Frisella, all of these names that are like, go do it, go do it, go do it, go do it. Success motivation, which is brilliant because they're motivating and inspiring like millions and millions and millions of people.
I needed that at a certain age in my life.
And that's what I think is pertinent to this part of the conversation, is like, that's applicable to so many people.
Yeah.
And there's like, it's the old biblical saying, if you have ears to hear, you know what I mean, and eyes to see. And I think that's what's cool about this, is it's not like fitting this mold. Like, you have to go do it this way. In order for you to find your arrival, you got to pay $29.97 and go to some deal in Sedona, Arizona, where you fucking sit in a sweat tent and all of a sudden, boom, it's whatever. Like, it might be might be going down to Mexico, to Panama for a business trip and getting lost in Mexico. It might be going to Burning Man and laying in the fucking dirt for 6 hours. It might be literally walking out your backyard up into the mountains and camping by yourself overnight. It might be literally jumping on your Harley with no freaking point of reference and just driving. You know what I mean? It might be literally sitting down with another human being and just fucking talking and not having any preconceived notion of where it's going. Like, everybody, I believe this, everybody wants more.
Yeah.
Everybody wants more. A good friend of mine, Jesse Elder, one of the things that I love about what he says, he's like, there's one thing that every single person on this planet wants. And I don't care what your skin color is. I don't care what your race is. I don't care what your creed is. I don't care whether you're fat, skinny, black, white, Puerto Rican, Mexican, gay, straight. I don't give a shit. Every single human being wants to feel better.
Yeah.
Every human being wants to feel better. Like, what does that better mean? You get to determine that. But everyone wants to feel better. And I think we're moving into an age of a state of consciousness where most people want more.
Yeah.
They're like, I'm good with where I am. I like my relationship. It works. Like, my job is good, but there's got to be more to this. Like, we were born, we were raised, we did everything we were supposed to do, and now here we are at 36, 38, 34, 42, 45, going, all right, man, like, there's got to be more to this. And I figured this out at 30. This is kind of where I, like, burned everything to the ground and was like, there's got to be more to this. And I've been on this quest for who the hell knows how long, and, like, just trying to find out more, trying to find out deeper, you know? But I completely agree. Like, every single person, like, somehow wants to feel better, but wants more. And so this conversation, whether it's hippy dippy to somebody, whether it's Gary Vee, whether it's Andy, whether it's Lewis, whether it's Eric Thomas, whether it's any of these motivators out there that get you to get off your ass, to go do more, quit your job, go start your company, whatever, or whether it's Garrett sitting here talking about go miss your flight on purpose and disappear into some fucking random jungle, and maybe you live, maybe you don't, but maybe you come out with, like, what you want.
Yeah.
Or maybe you come out with something you didn't know that you wanted.
That you
or maybe
needed.
you
filled some voids that you didn't know were voids.
And maybe you just shut the hell up for enough
that
you can actually now hear what you're supposed to hear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like you talk about Lewis, like I know Lewis is. I've talked to Lewis a couple times. I knew him back in 2008-9 days. We chatted here and there, and we'd see each other at shows and stuff. And he's had some real experiences. Well, if you know Lewis, everyone knows he's had some real experiences in his life. So, that hustle, that whole thing. There's a time for that, right? Like we go through these stages. I mean, we're at the stages as men. We're at certain ages that I think that we're starting to see, like, all right, what I had figured out at 25 up to 30 is not where I need to be at 36, 38, whatever. Like, right? We're and I think a lot of people are waking up. I think there's a huge consciousness. Everything's happening.
It's
and I'll get into that. Like I ran into some people that really, that's the next part of this process.
So this girl Paige tells you,
oh, so what you're looking for is what's looking.
Yeah.
All right.
And then Ricky hits you up on the beach.
So Ricky hits me up on the beach after I just stop. Be where you're supposed to be. Don't get distracted. So Ricky and I are sitting there having a good talk. We're talking about a lot of this stuff. Okay, Ricky's this guy from LA, cool dude. They're on accident. That's the next thing I need to talk about is everyone's there on accident. No one plans any of this. Everyone just ends up in this little community. So the last 6 days of my trip, I ended up in a little spiritual community. Didn't even know it existed. And here's where the whole thing began. And like I said, everything took me through a process to be able to get to this point. I see all these people that are just glowing. I talked about in the little village. Everyone's like, I want to be a part of this, but I'm not. For whatever reason, I'm just not connecting with anyone. And that's why I go up and I walk and I just decide to chill out. And I'm about ready to go home again. Ready to book that flight one more time. And Ricky and I are talking. And he stops halfway, like just stops. He says, this is going to sound really weird. I'm supposed to give you this bag of shrooms.
Oh, shit. I knew there was drugs somewhere involved in this thing. There has to be drugs.
This was a real shakeup for me, okay? My perception of this, I really don't have any tolerance for it on a lot of levels. I'm a strong proponent. I do believe that we need to do medical marijuana. I look at the opiate, everything that's happening here in Utah. Just in the last 3 days, I've noticed 3 different deaths pull up on my face feed due to addiction, right? What I have started to realize after this trip, there's partying for drugs for partying, and there's drugs for an authentic spiritual experience. I didn't know that. I think
just to preface that, if anybody listening to this actually did some homework and really looked
Which
and
is why I look at Jason
searched.
Silva so much.
Yeah, if you go and you talk to or you look at people, not judges of this or not people that judge based off of morality or religion, but I think if you truly do research and look into
Why are these things on the earth?
like
Why
what
are they
people
there?
are doing, what Native Americans were doing, what people in South America, what people in Asia,
Yeah.
I think if again, this isn't a conversation about shrooms or drugs or weed or anything like that.
nothing to do with it.
But I definitely would implore people to do your own homework, do your own research. Don't listen to your auntie, your uncle, to your mom, dad. all the shit.
Don't listen to me.
Yeah,
2 months ago.
Me or Garrett, but do your own homework and do your own research, because I was the exact opposite. I was like, forget weed, drugs, did a whole thing. And the more that I've done research on it, I understand, there are plant medicines, ayahuasca, different things like this, psilocybin, marijuana, different things like that actually have place for us.
And to put in perspective, I don't like
know.
marijuana. I have no interest in. I definitely
We're gonna get
tried it.
stoned like halfway through this, just so you
I've
know.
definitely tried it several times, and I'm never. It's not for me.
Sure.
Right. So
Yeah.
to put everyone in perspective here, I'm not.
Sure.
It's just not my thing. So, mind you, I just got done saying whatever is supposed to happen will happen. Just be still and surrender here for 15 minutes. Okay.
So you see the hot girl, or you
That's
see the
gone.
girl.
That's gone. That's gone.
She disappears.
That's gone.
Ricky
Ricky out of
shows
nowhere.
up,
Spiritual
taps on
Ricky.
your shoulder, says, "Hey,
how are you?
What's up, dude? Here's a bag of shrooms."
Well, it took a while to get to that process, right? Like, she's like, this is out of my character. I got these. I took some, had a really cool experience, but I don't really, I mean, I was really looking forward to doing these, but I just feel like I'm supposed to give you these. I don't know Ricky other than 20 minutes ago, Ricky. So this bag of honey, right? They're all in honey. I debate it for a while. I do. But, and it's funny because I hear people talk about, they go down and they meet people or whatever, and they had this wonderful gift. Now I realize they just didn't have the balls to say over something what that gift was or what that all meant. I want to be clear, like what transpires next. I don't think it really had anything to do with shrooms. Because they weren't that potent at all. They're just potent enough. But I didn't have this like wacky,
crazy, lucid.
Yeah. Nothing like that happened to me. It wasn't, and it was perfect for what I needed. And so I take him. Ricky leaves. I walk up on a cliff, and I just sit there for a couple hours and watch the sunset. And I have having the most, probably the most intimate experience I've ever had in my life. Like, it was something that things are never going to be the same again.
What do you mean intimate? Like, what does that mean?
I was there with, I had my pen and paper there. I was writing some stuff down. With myself, everything, all the anxieties I feel, everything, all the stresses, everything that happens, everything was clear. Everything was so crystal clear. And now that I've studied it more, I understand, and I'm literally begging everyone, go study how this works. Like, there's theory going around right now that the reason that we humans are, more advanced than our other counter primates is because we got into mushrooms. What happens is the neural pathways are forced to reconnect. We're using this small little percentage of our brain. If you look at MRIs, you look at everything that's happening of someone that's dealing with this, going through this, all this light's lighting up in the back of the brain that normally doesn't light up.
Yeah, and this is all a scientific
This is science. This
conversation. This isn't just like some, again, hippy dippy.
Yeah.
Which we'll do another podcast, because I'm really fascinated by this conversation of us versus the primates.
Oh,
because
Sex at
we
Dawn.
think, well, dude, Sex at Dawn is a fucking brilliant book, mind-bending book. If you haven't read that, read that book. Just the introduction will bend your mind.
Yeah.
The introduction of Sex at Dawn will bend your mind.
Which really isn't even about sex.
No.
It just tricks you.
No.
So you read
but,
it.
But my
really
point
it's
is,
about us.
What's fascinating is when you say like how we're more advanced than our counter primates. I wonder if we really are.
Okay.
Again, I want to totally go
pick up
off
what
on
you're
this,
putting down, yeah.
but like, if if every single Burger King, Walmart, Costco, McDonald's shut down tomorrow, 75% of the population on this planet would die of starvation.
Yeah.
What would happen to the apes and to the chimps
The
and everybody
primates
else?
that were not found are going to be fine.
What would be fascinating is they would actually start to they would probably flourish because there'd be less human beings fucking around with
Which
all
we
of
have
their
movies
shit.
about.
So if you stop and think about it, like who's more advanced? But I digress. We can talk about that, another time.
podcast.
So you're on the cliff. You're
Yeah, so this is when it all happens, right? This is when the iOS update, like, I think I had accepted the terms of the update, and I have now went to sleep, and I'm about to wake up, and the updates happened. So it's a really intimate experience. Look, we've both been through religious expectations, right? We both grew up in the same culture, same stuff. What I always wanted to have, I never had, and then you weren't worthy enough, you weren't righteous enough, you weren't this enough, and I want to be clear, I'm just a flawed dude that happened to have a really spiritual experience. That's all I am, right? And that's
a great statement, dude. I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
I'm just a really flawed guy.
Because it's perfect.
Yeah,
That's exactly what it is.
and many people say, well, that wasn't what you had. That was Satan to get. No.
Yeah.
Like, can I just
Take religion out of the
Can I
equation.
just blow something out of the water that's really important? Do you want to know what evil is? Evil is when you are taking away someone's freedom and agency. That's the definition of evil, right? And I learned that by watching ISIS videos. I'll just flat out say it. I watched some stuff, and it hit me. What evil is when you're taking away from someone else's freedom and agency. That's the definition of evil. So get rid of every spiritual leader, every religious leader. Just be. So I have the experience. I'm crying. I'm crying a lot. I mean, there's some massive things happening to me over the next 2 or 3 hours. And it wasn't so much about the shrooms. It was about the surrendering, the walking, the surviving from house to house. I mean, it's had to do with the diet. I mean, I'm waking up and I'm buying fish from kids and I'm cooking them. These little kids are going and catching fish and I'm cooking them with fruit. And I mean, it has all these elements have come together, right? I walk back down and it's night. And it was like I went back to like tribal days. Like everything, like the village was like, there was lights and it was like fire. There weren't fires though, but it was electricity, but everything, I just saw everything differently. And all those wonderful, amazing, enlightened people that I was just like, I really just want to talk to some of these people and be a part of this. Out of nowhere. Hey, I've seen you around. How are you? Hey, we're going to cook dinner tonight. Would you like to come? Hey, we're going to have this party tonight and we'd like to invite you. Like several different, what? I just went up to the beach, the cliff, 4 or 5 hours ago because I wasn't there. And now I'm being invited to be there on several different levels. And I don't know how to process this because I have a hard time accepting, things. And then from that point, I learned it. The whole book, The Surrender Experiment. I started learning a little bit of what it was that he is teaching. And so that night we ended up having this ridiculous, crazy reggae party. It was like, I've never been to anything like that in my life. It was the most tribal, primal, like all the music and everything. There was a guy, a little DJ there, but all the other stuff were like the bongos, the drums, the little like handmade instruments, and it is unreal. Like I'm just the moon, the stars. There's no lights. Everything's just like there's no light pollution, and I'm like looking at all these guys drumming and all this stuff, and they're like their hair, and there's these. I'm like, where am I? Like I'm like 1,000 years ago. Right? Everyone's wearing these like robes and this whole thing, and I'm understanding it. I'm getting it. I'm getting what it is, and we're taking it back, right? Like everything that we've led to believe that brings to all this happiness, the boats, the cars, this all, that's fine. There's no issue with those. But who are we really as humans, and what are we supposed to be like? Which is why there's like a lot of community living and a lot of these different things trying to have that experience, And so the next day I wake up in the morning. This is the funny part is I wake up and there's all these European people that are there, these travelers. Everyone's wanderers, everyone's travelers, and they're there for a short time. And I wake up and they have their own little economy. And there's these girls that are like in this apron, and they have this little basket and little cloth over, and they're like, "Would you like to buy some crepes?" And it's like Belle from Beauty and the Beast. I'm like waiting for Bonjour to break out, right? The whole thing. Like I'm like, what is this? So I buy breakfast, and then at lunch they're selling me falafels, and like then we're at the beach at like 3:00, and everyone's there swimming and talking and learning and writing and doing art and all this stuff. And everyone's happy. Also, I'm with like everything I wanted. I wanted to know what these people were like, and it came in such a different way I never thought it would. And then at night, everyone goes off and does their own thing. Anyways, so this spiritual community, this little spiritual village that people just find themselves there, and it really is a gym. I've looked it up online, and people don't talk about it much. Like, if you know, you know.
Yeah.
If you've been, you've been.
It's not something on like Travelocity. They were like, you get a 5-star rating for the Ritz-Carlton down there or whatever.
No, like I slept in dirt. So I'm leaving out a lot of different things. And I told you earlier that, and it's someone I've been wanting to connect with sends me a message and I'm telling you, like, things just started happening. Things started shifting with people that didn't even see me having my shift. Right? People that were here are seeing me having my or not seeing me have my shift or something, are like are having conversations with me as if they know, as if they're there. Because what you're looking for is what's looking. So a couple different amazing things happen. I'm probably gonna leave out a lot of it. That was the only time I tried shrooms. It was right for me. It worked for me. The last kind of thing. The whole point I want to drive home is the surrendering part. And one more, I have 2 more stories about this, quick ones. The night before I'm going home, I was like, it's ready. It's time. I had just got done posting a message about after 6 flights, whatever, and it didn't post, Sean. The internet didn't post it, like, because there's the signals. I'm in a little restaurant, and there's probably like 12 different tables empty. And I'm sitting there with my little tacos and eating. And I walk out of the thing and to get signal, and I hit send, and I turn around, and this girl's sitting at my table. There's 12 empty tables. And I'm like, sorry, I guess I'll move, right? Like, she's like, no, I meant to talk to you. I was like, okay. I just sit down, and we're talking, we're having this conversation, and I have never had such a beautiful, deep conversation and had a connection conversation. Not romantic, nothing. It had nothing to do with that. Nothing whatsoever. None of this trip had anything to do with like anything. I didn't so much as touch a girl's hand. I just want to connect intimately and have a deep conversation with people, right? And we're up till 5 a.m. having a talk, and then it's like 4 a.m. and all our friends that came back from the circus. I know it's a long story, but they all came back from.
Dude, where the fuck did you go, dude? That's what I want to know. Like,
I'll tell you.
You got abducted by an alien. So are you telling me that aliens are real? You went to like
angels.
some freaking random planet.
If anyone wants to know where this is, you can message me.
It's Random Planet by Garrett.com. Google it. You'll find it. It's great.
Yeah. There was a lot of weird stuff that happened. No, not weird. But
it's not weird.
Beautiful.
None of it's weird.
Yeah. Well, like the old me would have said that's weird.
And that's what I think. Like when you say, "Well, I've got stories to share," I don't think they're stories. I think they're experiences.
Yeah.
My experience was this. This isn't a story. This isn't like a let's wow you. Like this is why I wanted to have this conversation. Like when we were at the gym, I'm like, dude, let's do a podcast. Let's talk about this because I believe. There's no doubt in my mind that there's 50 things that you're not even. Talking about that we can't. I mean, a 5, 6, 7 hour podcast. I bet you there's a bunch of weirdos, or potentially enlightened people that would actually listen to like 5 hours of us talking. You know what I mean?
Everyone's gonna ask me to write a book on this because I left out a lot.
But that's what's fascinating is it's not weird at all.
Yeah.
To someone who's and I'm trying to become more conscious. I'm trying to learn more. I think it's fucking brilliant. And this is why like I'm infatuated with the conversation, not just with you, but with everyone of what did you do? Where did you go? You know, I mean, how did you do this? How did you go deeper? What was your experience? Was it meditation? Was it yoga? Was it plant medicine? What was it? I'm infatuated with it because
which I want to tell you, like the whole plant medicine thing, I understand meditation now. I am now on a journey but I don't think I could have gone on that meditation without the plant medicine. Right?
Interesting.
I don't think I could have. I think I'm too loud inside.
Sure.
Now I know how to quiet it down. And I think that's the biggest thing I just want in finishing up, or we can talk longer or whatever. But the whole point, even listening to me, the only thing I feel like I'm qualified to really say is I had these experiences and they're happening and they have to do with just surrendering. They, you know, like when you want to control the outcome, when you're feeling turmoil, when you're feeling like down, lonely, depression, all these things, because everyone feels this stuff. How, like, you just, like, for me, it always took 10 to 15 minutes, Sean, and someone would show up, we'd have a meaningful conversation, and they would say, I feel like you need to X.
almost like guides.
100% like
Almost like they were like guides on this
Looking
journey
back,
where
they
as
were
soon
all guides.
as you just shut the hell up
Yeah.
and actually like we're ready for the right guide.
Yeah.
You ever notice like how that I've thought back over like the last 10 years and I've tried to like think introspectively of like all the people that have come in and out of my life or you know, I still potentially have in my life, and like everybody's there to teach you something. Everybody's there to impart something, to share something. And I don't care if they're older, if they're younger, if they're richer, if they're poor, it doesn't matter. Like what we fail to do is acknowledge the guide, acknowledge the experience of this person is here to share something with me or give me something that they see that I might not see.
Maybe your ego tells you that could never be a guide.
Yeah.
Maybe for me, a lot of times my situation was, you know, in my marriage and whatever, like if that person is an attractive person, I could never associate with that person because that's just wrong.
Right.
And I understand the boundaries of that, but there's gifts that are meant to be shared that we're meant to receive. But until you can be there, and it's not about being humble and meek and all these types of things. I mean, that matters, but it's about, it's the word surrender, but not as the chicky way that I used to think that it meant.
Well, just in you saying being humble and meek, I think that we're in a day and age where feeling is now trumping words. I think people feel things. When you say humble and meek, I might be standing in front of 1,000 people.
Yes.
And I might be able to rip their freaking eyeballs out with power and energy and focus and receiving something that I'm supposed to say and do it in the most humble, meek way possible, where we have this concept and this idea that humility and meekness is quiet and we're supposed to just be these very, very subtle creatures, and this is what humility is and this is what meekness is. I don't agree with that. Yeah. I think that we've put labels on things. I went through an experience. You can
meekly build empires.
Yeah. I went through an experience with this recently where I've been really focused on light. I've been really focused on shining the light, the lighthouse concept. And I had this really cool experience a week ago where I've been feeling all of this rage, all of this anger, all of this frustration, and I've been perplexed by it. I don't know where it's coming from. I'm not an angry dude. I mean, I've got a great life and the whole thing, but the last 6 months, there's been this like rage that I've never felt before. And I mean, I've shared this publicly on Facebook where I've had multiple MMA fights. I mean, I've been in street fights. I've had, you know, divorce and bankruptcy and levels of anger and frustration that's hard to explain to people. But this rage has been coming out of me for the last 6 months, and I haven't been able to figure out why. Yeah. I'm not pinpointing it. And I had this experience the other day where I walked into my front door and this guy sent me a mattress. The most random thing ever. Right? He owns this mattress company and he sent me a mattress and he's like, hey man, I want to send you a mattress. People send me like a hat or beard oil or, you know, a knife or some tactical survival thing. He's like, I want to send you a mattress. And I'm like, sweet. I'll take, you know, awesome. I'd love to try out your mattress. And the mattress is sitting in my entryway and I walk in the door and one of my dogs is pissed on the floor, like right onto this mattress, and I start fucking losing it. And I turn the corner, and they've shredded these pillows. And this is not normal for my dogs. They don't ever do this. There's pillows shredded, and there's shit everywhere in my house. And you've been in my house. It's all over the place. And I fucking lost it. This rage came out. And it wasn't like I wasn't like throwing my dogs or punching holes in the wall, but this fucking rage came out. And I'm yanking this mattress out of my front door, and I'm like just slinging this big-ass king-size mattress that's heavy as shit. And I'm screaming at myself. And it's fucking crazy because people would like... that are listening or that read my post are like, dude, this guy needs some serious medication and help, and he needs to go to the nutty farm. But I'm yelling at myself. I'm like, dude, stop being such a fucking pussy. Why are you playing so goddamn small? Why are you like being such a fucking bitch? And I'm like yelling this at myself. And it's this insane experience. And this is where when you talk surrender, when you talk about like actually shutting up and listening, I've been pitching this idea of light. And I'm ripping this thing out, and I throw it up against my house, and I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I'm like, I'm in tears, and it's this crazy emotional experience, and it's like energy, like I could literally flip my truck over kind of a thing, like I want to rip my house down, like just this insane energy happening. And all of a sudden, like I start laughing, and I'm in my driveway, and I'm standing there with just shorts on, I've got no shirt on, and I'm just standing there, and like I start laughing because I realize like everything that I'm screaming at myself right now is what the universe has been trying to tell me for the last 6 months. Well, I've been trying to shine all this light, and it's been giving me this anger in sharing with me and showing me that like the dark is inside of me, and I've been suppressing it. And I've taught this. I've been teaching this for years. I've been sharing this with people where inside of us is light and dark. And I've been so consumed with what I think I'm supposed to be doing and saying, which is shine light, be the example. You have this massive tribe of people. Keep leading the way and shining the light. Well, the reality is if we're going into this battle, this war, this idea of consciousness, this level of intensity, like who's standing out front? Who's wielding the sword? And I've been literally in my own mind trying to create what I think is supposed to be this idea and vision of light, of leadership, of guidance for all of these people.
Yeah.
And all the while the universe is like bubbling up this fucking insane energy, call it anger, call it frustration inside of me, and I don't recognize it. And it takes me like having my dog piss on a mattress and ripping the shit out of a cushion for me to literally rip this mattress out of my house and all of a sudden start screaming at myself. And it was like, oh, like this is what you're supposed to be listening to. And I'm like literally telling myself, and I start laughing. I grabbed my phone and I wrote this post out, which people started texting me like crazy right afterwards. Like, holy shit, dude, that was like one of your best posts. It was deep. It was real. I've been feeling the same way because what I'm supposed to do, what I'm supposed to feel, what I'm supposed to think, how I'm supposed to act is where my mind was. Yeah. And I literally lost track of the rawness of the intensity, the rawness of the light and the dark, and to accept both and to be living fully in both. And so I was just trying to live in light and suppress all this darkness. And the universe is like, here's some more anger. Here's some more anger. When are you going to wake the fuck up and use this to build some more shit and stop playing small and to go all in versus just giving everybody the tip.
Yep. Yeah.
And so there's like these crazy paradoxes of like
and the way experiences. And the way it comes isn't the way that you think that it's supposed to come.
When you talk surrender, I literally ripped this mattress out. I threw it up against the side of my house, and I'm like yelling at myself, and then all of a sudden I was like, I can't fucking, like, what the hell?
I can't live like this anymore, right?
And all of a sudden this massive cosmic universe, God, Jesus, whatever it is, download comes of like, dude, open up the freaking darkness, like walk into that. That's who you, that's the carnal nature of who you are.
Where they say,
accept it.
In yoga, there's a quote, they also say the only way out is the way in.
It was a trip. It was a total trip. So when you talk to the word surrender, like I think a lot of people think that it's this feminist, like, I give up. I'm just going to give up on my life, and I'm going to give up on my marriage, and I'm going to give up on my business, and I'm just going to turn into a monk, and I'm going to find this place Garrett's talking about. I'm going to buy a robe and a bongo drum, and I'm going to disappear, and then maybe Jesus will come down and talk to me.
I think I'll have enlightenment.
Dude, surrendering to me is literally the acceptance and the acknowledgement that, like, we're these fucking little specks of dust on this rotating rock. Yeah. What do we really know?
I'll tell you what, to feel that, when I was in Mexico City, what is it? They say anywhere from 15 to 19 million people.
In Mexico City?
I don't speak a lick of Spanish. and I just walked around by myself, I meant nothing. That was part of the whole process to get me there. You know what I mean? And so all these little surrenders, all these little things that happen. And mind you, the guy that wrote the book, The Surrender Experiment, like, just if anyone has this like false impression of what I'm getting at, this guy's a multi-billionaire that owns WebMD. So he surrendered himself to become a billionaire. So don't think you got it figured out. Like it's not about like controlling the outcome. And that's why you see, like, you watch the movie Billions, you know, like on Stars. Like I'm watching. I used to love that show. Now I see it as what it is. It's Hollywood. It has nothing to do with like these massive tycoons. They just surrendered.
What's interesting is a lot of people listening to this podcast are on different wavelengths. You'll have some that are very wealthy. Mm-hmm. You have some that are not at all. And this is, again, where the word surrender, I think, takes shape. And what I experienced on the playa of judgment, I realized I had to go to Burning Man to lose judgment, because I was very, very, very judgmental of people. I looked at someone and I had a preconceived notion of who they were.
Yes.
Of their income.
Some of the stories I left out are on this, man.
That was my takeaway from Burning Man, was my level of judgment towards other human beings. As I walked around, just bing, 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 bing. He's this, she's this, he's this, he's a good dad, she's a bad mom. I had all of these preconceived notions.
But you have it all figured out, right?
Even today, I still do it, but I'm learning more and more and more, and experience and going back to that recollection. And that's why sitting down with, I sat down with this girl who's this radical feminist, and people are like, dude, what are you doing? And I went 2.5 years ago, and I went and sat in this mosque in Detroit with an imam who's like the clerical leader of this Muslim house of faith worship, whatever. And people are like, fuck that, all this other stuff. And it's like, dude, just get to the point where, like, know what you don't know, you know. And this whole idea of surrendering is being okay as in my opinion, my opinion is being an alpha male, you, me, anybody listening to this, and just realizing, like, we don't have it all fucking figured out. And it's cool to not have it figured out. Like, we're taught, if we don't lie, if you don't have it figured out, just lie about it. And so we lie to our wives, we lie to our families, we lie to our employees, our partners, whatever, that we've got everything figured out, when instead of just saying, I don't know, or can someone teach me or share with me, or I'm feeling this way. Your deal went down in Mexico, and it was a 3-week journey. His deal was this, his experience was this. But I think the root of all of it is that choosing, all right, there's more to this. Like, I'm not happy with where I am, and I'm tired of lying about it.
You know, the guy that wrote the book, Surrender Experiment, Mickey, so, I just listened to this podcast with him just the other day, or it was this morning, actually. I listened to it twice. But he talks about this scenario where, you can be sitting there, and this most, handsome guy comes up to you for a girl, or a beautiful woman, and you're all excited, and you're like turned on, and then they turn around and they talk to the other person the same way, and all of a sudden you're closed off and upset. That person had nothing to do with those emotions,
right? And
that excitement and that joy that you felt. That all happened within you. They brought that out, and you can have that without them. You can constantly be in the state, and it's a struggle and it's a fight. And I think that's the end of, like, after all my whole trip, when I came back, on that flight, I remember landing, and I was like, I'm complete. Like, there's stuff, I guess I could finish up and tell you the rest of it. So a couple different things that happened. So, and it's just really put back this point of surrendering. The next day I wake up, my flight leaves like 4, and I'm up all night talking with these people that came back from the circus. And, I'm sitting there, we're kind of talking on the beach a little bit in our little tribal circle, and which is so out of my character, right? You see these people in the park, they're just like,
whatever.
Now I'm just like, I'm good with it. I'm good with it. Maybe they're not. And here's the whole thing that I figured out, though. This is what I mean. Like, you attract your tribe type of stuff. Maybe the people in the park here at every park, they're not my tribe. Maybe not. As I sit and talk to these people, and they're like, hey, I really want to stay connected with you. Now we're pulling out. Oh, that's the other thing. Cell phone was pretty much gone most of the time, which was a beautiful thing as well. Part of the diet, the whole thing I was talking about, all these things, the walking, cell phone had to do with that too, getting rid of that. But there was no service. It was beautiful. So we're pulling out, and we're adding each other on Facebook, right? And I'm seeing these people. They're not freaking hippies, Sean, that are bums. These guys in the UK with really powerful, good businesses. I was hanging out with some people that were some people.
That's what I was telling you about Burning Man.
Yeah,
I mean,
I know this.
Half naked people that you're like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? He controls $100 and something million real estate investment fund in New York City, who wears a $3,000 suit every single day, and you're like, I'm damn near seeing your balls right now. Like, what the fuck, man?
Here we are all now
it's
in
insane.
our normal primal level.
It's
like,
insane.
Yeah. And so as I start following these people more on social media, I was like, okay, so here's what they did tell me at the end. And there's one other story that matters to me, so I want to tell it. They're like, look, you know now. Like, you went through this. You know. Now you go home and you operate at this level. Your company operates at this level. Like, you know. And now you come back and you do your thing again here for 2-3 weeks. That's what these people were doing. There's people that live there full time. And then you go back and you play at the next higher level.
Mm-hmm.
And you come back and you surrender deeper. And then you play higher. And you go deeper. And then you play higher. And I was like, yeah, I can see how, yes, I want all this, which leads to the Airstream trailer, which we'll get on.
Yeah.
So anyways, so now I'm home, right? I'm having a really hard time like getting back acclimated into like life, because I have just lived on one planet and now I'm living in my old planet, and I realize I need to marry both somehow, some way. I told you a little bit about this person that reached out to me that I've been wanting to talk to for a while. It was important to me that I did. I'm at the gym and we had been messaging back and forth about some stuff, and I'm just on a treadmill, walking, getting warmed up. I pick up my phone to text them, trying to control the whole thing, right? I catch it. I catch this feeling that reaching out to someone, that's not the point. The point is when you're conflicted, like you're trying to control something, that's when you got to notice it. That's what this is all about. It's not about going through your normal flow and working and emailing. It's about when you're trying to control something. That's when you got to identify this. I just went through this for a month. I had countless things that happened. A lot I haven't told. Just put your phone down, Garrett. The deal, or this is supposed to happen, is supposed to happen. Let them come to you. Let them, don't control it. I go down. I pick up some weights. There's this big pillar, cement pillar thing. I pick up weights. I put them down, and all of a sudden, all these people come out of a CrossFit class. I get out of their way. I go back. I pick up the weights. I stand up. And there's a straggler that just walked into me. It was them. We have a conversation. I'm thinking, I was like, did that 10, 15 minutes ago, I surrendered and just said, just if whatever's supposed to happen will happen. So these things just keep happening to me in the last month now, not 2 months now of my life. These things are just keep happening to me. I'm not controlling it. I'm controlling when I feel like I need to control it. I'm just surrendering to it. I know we keep saying this word, but that's the only way I can explain it. And when you read the book or you look into this deeper, it'll make more sense to everyone. And there's other little tiny situations that just keep happening. And so ultimately, yeah, that's my journey. That's what happened to me. I just know I'm never going back. I'm never going back to what was, the way I was. And I wasn't a horrible person. I was unhappy a lot of the times. And I masked. I was like, fake it till you make it, which serves its purpose at times, sure, whatever. But I don't want to fake it all the time. I don't even care if I make it. I just want to be happy. I just want to have that. If that means living in a trailer, then that's what I'm going to do. If that means running a multi-billion-dollar company, then that's what I'm going to do. I just want that. And that's what led us to...
What do you think that is? Because I think
it's the voices in your head that can tell you that if you don't have this, then you won't be.
Yeah.
And learning.
It's fascinating though, because so many people are conflicted in their own head, and I think what people are conflicted about is going back to our original thought process, the original conversation of how we were raised, what we were told to believe, what normal is. Like spending 3 weeks in Mexico is not normal.
Lost in Mexico.
Right? Yeah, walking with a fucking suitcase.
My suitcase. When it came,
speaking no Spanish.
When it came,
You should have just burned it, left it there.
Beat the hell.
Just leave everything there.
Yeah.
Like, what's normal? Like, that's the thing. I think that people, human beings, what I experienced is I want to not only control, but like, this is what normal is. And if I say these things, it's not normal. If I think these things, it's not normal. If I do these things, it's not normal. And I think something for everybody to kind of take away from this in conjunction with everything that we're talking about is just what is normal. Yeah. Like there's people living in Mexico right now on the beach eating fish that kids just caught year round.
And they're so happy.
And that's normal.
And they're so happy.
And forget whether they're happy or not happy or this or that or the other, but there's people living on the other side of the planet. There's kids that have never played with a ball before, and their life is normal. There are people that have exorbitant amounts of money that live a certain way, and that's normal.
Yeah.
There's people that are dead broke that have never eaten a steak before, and that's normal to them. And so I think the idea, like, again, controlling, we go back to the controlling thing, like what's normal? And this becomes part of the conversation that I think a lot of people get scared with and run away from is like, well, if I do this, my family will think this because this is abnormal. And this is the box that I've put myself in. This is how I should be. This is what dad and mom invested their money in for me to go to college and to have this kind of job and have this kind of thing. And I think when you strip away all the bullshit, like what is, again, the words, stripping away the words, what is normal? My normal is different than someone else's normal. And I think that's what makes this conversation phenomenal is if people would just step away from what is, quote, normal, what they think is supposed to happen, what they think is supposed to be.
Yeah. And a lot of those people that are the pinnacle and when I say pinnacle, the pinnacle of the highest caliber of that normal society are oftentimes the unhappiness, the most unhappiest. I know in our own state, in our own culture, I see many people that we see on a daily basis at the gym or whatever. We happen to go to the same gym. That normal, I used to think like that's the way that I'm supposed to, like that's the pinnacle of life.
Right.
And as I get and I know these people more, I'm like,
I don't know about that. Dude,
I don't know if that's the right path for me because it's not for them. And
I've shared this with business. I mean, you go get the biography of the last 50 multimillionaires, billionaires, whatever. You read those biographies. I've never read a biography of a successful person, a notable person, a world leader of any sort, where in conclusion they're talking about how they wish they had worked more. I mean, without fail, 99.99% of them say, if I could go back and do it all over again, I would spend more time with my kids.
Yeah.
I missed a lot of things. I mean, Steve Covey, who wrote phenomenal books, traveled the world, literally led and guided heads of state, heads of company, and was their mentor, their guru, their everything, in his own book. Talked about how he had to give up a lot of things. He had to miss a lot of things. And if he could go back, he would do it differently. And I think what's cool right now is there's guys like you, guys like me, guys like Joe Rogan, Silva. I mean, all of these different people, Aubrey Marcus, who are at a fairly relatively young age. I think Joe's 40-something, 45, 46. But I mean, guys in their 30s, 40s who are waking up to this consciousness of saying, like, maybe I did have the Rolex and the cars and the houses like me, and I figured out young enough that that's not what made me happy. Yeah. And I'm building a life now where people say to me all the time on social media, dude, when do you work? Because they see me riding my horses with my kids. They see me racing my truck. Yeah. They see me doing all these things. And I'm like, that's what I spend a majority of my time doing because that's what I want to do. That's what makes me happy. And so I've built a business and a life that supports that. I set that
up for myself as well. Like I set up a life where I could do these things.
Exactly.
That's why I chose to do the career path that I did is because, that's what, but mind you, Like that was my patterns all through high school and everything too. I was the guy out in the hall walking around.
Sure.
I was clueless, and I was never going to amount to anything. Like we don't need to get into the school thing, but I'm still damaged. I'm still healing from how teachers and principals treated me. I still have issues. I understand, because I want, because that taught me, everything that process was, is if you won't be successful if you don't graduate with these and these.
Do these things.
I dropped out of high school twice.
Right.
But at the end of the day, what, those ways maybe worked for that generation, and maybe it was what brought them comfort and peace and what brought them those feelings that they needed to feel. But the world is a different place now. And in the world, we're going to be those old men that we're going to be living the wrong life per se.
Yeah.
To the next generation if we don't adapt and change.
Right.
If we become stagnant. And so, what's right for us at this time is what is happening, and that's what's bringing us the most fulfillment. And it's when you get so caught up into thinking that that's how I always need to be, because there'll be a time where I go short hair and shave, and I don't know, maybe I'm a executive looking corporate guy. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd probably not, but you never know. So it's just, once again, the word surrendering of what is it that I'm, what is it the universe is wanting? What is it, what is life unfolding for me? And I'm doing my best with that versus trying to control what I think will be best for Garrett. Let life bring to me what it needs to bring. And I just keep doing this, and it just keeps bringing to me what I need and what helps me play at a higher level. And then, just I go deeper, I go at a higher level. And that's, and I guess we can kind of go on and talk about that. The next part of my place or my life, my kids, and we haven't talked about a lot, and I get questions. I mean, I got the judgments that came to me. I'm telling you, man.
Oh, I'm sure, man.
The judgments that came to me and the stuff that was written to me, a lot of it was people, I think, though, however, that really their heart wants to see, they see what happened and their heart wants that.
Mm-hmm.
But they can't because their ego and the way that they built their life. I have a lot of really good cowboy buddies that are a little maybe too staunch in where they're at. And I grew up in a small, country town. So the judgments that would come to me, which I'm not mad. I learned a lot because every message that would come, I remember that stage in my life that I would have been the guy thinking and
Right.
wondering that. But really what was happening to me is my heart wanted that. But my only way of reaching out was in criticism.
And that's why, just through social media, most critics, people that
Yeah.
are very vocally,
They're hungry for what is there, but they don't know how to
Yeah.
connect and have a connection because they just have to do it in the way that is unfortunately a lower frequency way to do it.
and that's where I think most people gets caught up in thinking, and especially with family and close circle people that are in their circle, friends, family, colleagues, high school, college buddies. Critics, in my opinion, are your biggest fans because they're taking the time to tell you that you suck. They're taking their time to tell you that you're a pice of shit,
Yeah,
or that your
use those
thought
guys.
process is dumb. Those are the people that are looking at you the most, that are so filled with what we experienced
and anger
and saying, well, fuck you then, kind of a thing. But I think what's interesting is so few people with what you're talking about, like getting messages and people that are kind of judgment or criticizing, I think are the people they're just scared.
Yeah.
They're scared of this conversation. They're scared of more. They're scared to go deeper because they look at their own space, their own life, and they're like, well, shit, I'm 30-something years old. I got a couple of kids. I got a house. I got a job. I have what I'm supposed to have. I'm not happy. Like,
But
what am I supposed to do?
What is their influence? Is their mother, their father, their cousins, their community? Well, they judge them, but really their heart wants to be there.
Exactly.
And the only reason I know this, and I can speak so like with such confidence and like authority about this, is because I was that.
Mm-hmm. I did the same thing, man.
I was that, so I know. And that's
Totally
my,
agree.
And my responses to these people were, I understand because I
Right.
was there.
Yeah.
So a big criticism was like, well, you just abandon your kids. But there's the other side of the story to this that no one knows. I would pick a spot, or we would pick a spot to research and study the night before. They would research and study that spot. The next day, I'd FaceTime them at that pyramid, at that museum, at that place. They were with me. They
Yeah.
for a lot of nights, the sunsets every night. We would
Really?
share that on a FaceTime, and it was a magical really important experience with me and my children. My children watched me do something, and now they think, I have confidence. My dad, I can venture into unknown worlds because my dad ventured into unknown worlds. At least it gives them a glimpse of what's possible, what they can do. And if that's their path, then great. If it's not their path, it's great. But it wasn't that. It was my relationship with my children became so much more richer through this. And then when I got back, and I'm sure you saw, I took them off to the sand dunes, and we all went, and we had such a rich experience because I shed a skin. I shed a skin, and they connected with this new skin, and it was beautiful.
Dude, there's probably last week's podcast with my daughter.
Okay.
I had my daughter on, which was phenomenal. I mean, to sit and talk to your daughter for an hour, however long, it was really fascinating. But we're sitting there talking, and we talked about a conversation that we had about religion, and in particular where mom is very LDS, dad's not, and so on and so forth. And she was very conflicted, and opening that up and sharing with her like the more I share with my kids, we again, going back to the ritualistic way that we were raised, just tell them what to do. They'll grow up, they'll be 18, they'll venture off on their own and create their own life. And there's nothing more powerful as a father than to inject my children into my life. I feel like a lot of people want to shelter and what's dad doing? Oh, he's down in the freaking jungle wandering around. Who the fuck knows? Kind of thing. Kids, I'll be back. But in bringing them into that experience, I bring them into my world. I bring them to speaking engagements, and to Lions Not Sheep, and to everything that I'm doing. And I feel like I'm not necessarily opening them up, but showing them more of me. And the more I show them of me, the closer I am, like with my daughter, with my son. Like my relationship has never been as close as it is now in bringing them into my world. Yeah. Where we kind of look at it and say, well, my world is my world over here. My world is my world over here. And we compartmentalize and we try and have this rich experience of life, like you say. And yet this might be good. This might be shit. This might be so-so. And it's just kind of this juggling around of trying to appease everything else, where you're that focal point. Like when you plant your flag in the ground and say, this is what I want, this is where I will go, this is what I will build, this is the journey that I'm going to go on. It seems to me the more I do that, everything else around me starts to change, where instead of having to go out and individually do those things, it naturally just starts to evolve.
And I'm just now discovering this, by the way.
You evolve.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think you went on this, you started having this like years ago. I'm kind of a latecomer to this. Things are just happening.
No, it's not a latecomer. It's perfect time.
And I'm loving it. It is perfect time for me. And so when I came home, so the question is, I got a lot of criticisms about my kids, right? Because what the hell is this guy doing?
Right.
This is Garrett Robins isn't that. Well, the Garrett Robins I knew isn't that, right? He's structured. He has his companies. He has, all these things. And so, it's kind of like a slingshot. You pull that slingshot back, takes a little time. You pull it back, takes a little time. But when you let go, I'm in archery now. That velocity that happens, you got to spend time to pull it back. And that's what I was doing in the relationship with my children, that part of it. So, the criticisms of that, we come back, we decide it's spring break, and I decide, here's the other part about that is I'm talking to Tash, and I'm like, I just feel some guilt right now with the kids, and keep going. They're like, it's awesome. And it happened to be like a week of warm weather, like 70-degree weather. She's like, you're going to be obsolete here anyways. Because we just have our wicked winter. It's cold. It's finally spring. The kids, the timing
kids just want to go play.
They're going to go play with their friends anyways. I'm obsolete. I'm like, all right. My kids are saying, go here. It's just a beautiful thing. But I come back. I have this really rich, meaningful trip with my kids over spring break. And it hits me that I want this more. But I can't because I have, and this is where we can start talking about our simplifying lives.
Dude, I think we should, what we should do? We should do another podcast on this. Jake, how long do we have on this? We haven't done a long podcast before.
This one?
Yeah, how long?
An hour and 25 minutes.
Now, how long can we go before we run out of bandwidth or space?
3 hours.
Really? Well, shit.
Yeah, I've done some podcasts that's never this long. I don't know.
Really?
Sorry.
Dude, I'm not sorry for shit, man. I love it. I just want to make sure all of a sudden it just goes beep, 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 and everything shuts off.
We can do 2 segments if we need to. But
So you, because this is what you and I were talking about at the gym the other day.
Yes.
This is kind of phase one was like,
all this
you're
got me
coming
here.
home.
Yeah.
And what did you experience the whole thing? And now it's like, okay, now where do I go?
Yeah.
What do I do with this? Because
So if anyone wants to throw judgments of drugs or plant medicine made my experience with my children.
Yeah.
The end result is my rich experience with my children, what's about to transpire with my children over the next 2 years of my life and their life.
yeah,
Because, I love the quote, what you got you here won't get you there.
right.
I had to radically change some stuff to get what I wanted, right? So
One of
those
the-
guys that reached out to me of like, what are you doing? Are you banning? Like, right? All that thought process. No, like I needed to pull back. I needed to I needed that.
Right.
And I got it. I didn't know how to get it, but I got it. And like I said, I'm just a flawed guy that had some beautiful experiences and I want more of those. And so I'm going to keep going because it just keeps working. It just keeps happening.
And that's something that dude, I couldn't agree with you more. Like I think what we deal with in society is we kind of get a glimmer of that, and it's like, oh, it was luck, or it was just this, or it was that, and so people abandon that and they run away from it. Which
I did.
For me, it seems like the deeper I go, what I've been experiencing the last 6 months is that when you talk about going deeper and then you level up and you go deeper and you level up, I've leveled up at such a, for me, not being presumptuous, but such a rapid rate because that's been my focus.
Yeah.
I've been wanting that. So I've hired coaches and I've gone into programs and I've done internal work and I've been thinking and I've been pondering and meditating and going deeper. And all of a sudden I've kind of hit this plateau where it's like almost that resistance of that glass ceiling. And it's like,
time to
are
surrender
you going to
again.
listen? Because you're now operating at a different frequency. So if you're not fucking listening, we're going to keep punching you in the face until you're all of a sudden you're like, oh, and it literally took a mattress in my front freaking driveway, throwing it to be like literally screaming at myself to go, oh shit, this is what I was supposed to hear. And it's been months and months and months and months and months. And all of a sudden it shifts and like, it's a completely different frequency now. Now I'm like, whew, good. Had conversations I needed to have, felt the freedom of being able to like acknowledge what I knew already was. And it's kind of this whole, now it's another level. It's another frequency, which I'm attracted to different people, different concepts, different ideas, different experiences.
Expansion.
It's back to the computer, bro.
expanding.
The computer is getting more and more and more and more. And the more you want, the more upgrades you want to put in there, the more advanced, the richer you want the experience, the more profound you want the experience, the more you expand the bandwidth, the more you're capable of receiving. It's like, I felt like the universe was just shooting down at me with this fire hose, all of this information, all this wisdom. And I'm standing there with like a butterfly net. Right. And it's just like one of the kids, like my daughter goes to Moab with and tries to catch lizards with. It's long. You get them at the dollar store and it's like the most flimsy thing and they all end up broken in the back of my truck. But like, I feel like I'm standing there with this butterfly net and the universe is just fucking dumping on me and realizing like, as soon as I get rid of that and actually put something of substance, of a bowl, something meaningful, it'll start to resonate. And all of a sudden it clicks.
Oh, man.
And it took literally 3 weeks in the jungle, a mattress in my freaking front driveway to have these experiences, to then all of a sudden realize, oh my gosh, dude, I'm like, there's more. And then you become
Being able to receive.
But what's interesting, what you're talking about now, and like what you and I were talking about at the gym the other day, is like, okay, now what? Now we come back to real world, real reality. I'm standing in my driveway. Oh, the angels are singing. Everything's happening. Crazy, majestic experience. Awesome. God bless America. I'm in the jungle. I'm hanging out with the people on the beach with the freaking thing, eating bananas and the whole deal. And I come back to reality. Like, now what do I do? Mm-hmm. And I think that's a fascinating experience, because what I talk to guys about and what guys who come through the Lions Not Sheep experience is they have such a radical shift. I've always said this: radical change requires radical change. I mean, if you want to go from 350 pounds to ripped, you can't go walk on the treadmill for 4 minutes and do 6 sit-ups. Like, you have to dramatically alter your diet, dramatically alter these things. If you want to go from
there's going to be pain,
broke ass poor, I have $2 in my account and I'm living paycheck to paycheck, to I have sustainable cash flow, you're going to radically have to change your habits and your your thought process, your mentality.
zone.
And so radical change requires radical change. And so we have these experiences. These guys come back from the Lions Not Sheep experience and they've learned such a ridiculously deep experience of new patterns, new ways, new tools. But what's fascinating is you come back to the same world. You come back to the same reality. You come back to the same people that 3 weeks before, they haven't done anything different. They haven't had the experience. Like me having this experience in my driveway and all of a sudden just feeling this lightness and this, like, not like visual light, but I just felt like I got rid of all these rocks, and I felt like I could like authentically go into the darkness again, like I know I could. You coming into this, back into America with this heightened level of knowledge, everybody's still operating at the same frequency.
Yeah. And I think it is about recreating the group that's around you, because, you know, a lot of people came up to me, like you and other people. A lot of people would come up and said, I need to talk with you. I need to know. This is the first time I've ever told this stuff publicly. And in a more intimate, I tell other things, but,
sure.
And maybe I will. Maybe I'll get to a point where I'll tell everything, but, it's not over yet. That's the thing. It's
sure.
I'm just new to this, and I just know it keeps working. And call it manifesting stuff. Call it faith. You know, it's real. And the only reason I know it's real because I keep testing this.
Mm-hmm.
I keep noticing it, and I feel it bubble up, and I'm like, okay, surrender. 10, 15 minutes
And then
later,
it happens. Yep.
It's just, what the, right? And you hit something a while ago where before you just think it's coincidence, luck, or whatever, and that was me for a long time. I couldn't settle my soul down. I always had this anxiety and this thing going on, and it was on the outside, and people noticed it. And it's like when I came back down off the cliff and immediately was walking through the village, and everyone, dude, I'm telling you, everyone just, and I didn't know how to handle it, Sean. I was like, what? Been here for 2.5 days. No one's spoken to me once.
Yeah.
Like, I've been trying to have communication, and no one's like, I'm just not cool. And I would say, people would come in. I'd see tourists and stuff, people from America, you know, Americans, right, come in, or people that would go hunt. They've heard of this situation. They've heard of this place. Mind you, 2.5 days, all I wanted to do is talk to someone and connect. Now here I am, you know, 5.5 days later. I see these people, and I'm like, don't let them talk to you. They're so loud. They're not there yet. They're not ready, because they just got off the plane, heard about this place, drove down here, and, you know, like I said, I was stubborn, you know, I was full of a lot of shit. I had to like walk it off. I had to walk and shed the skin before I was even, you know, it took levels for me to get there. And I still have more levels to go deeper with it all. But yeah, so I come back, I have this great, you know, this other situation at the gym I told you about, where the person just walks right up to me, like, holy crap, like, did that just really happen? And then I have this thing with my kids, my children. I go out, and I decide, all right, so here's the other scoop. You know, I've been separated from my wife for a while, going through a divorce and some stuff, and I get this house, and I'm trying to make it feel like a home.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm realizing I just hate it, dude. I freaking hate it. I could build a $2 million home right now. I would be so miserable. It could be the nicest of all things, right? I'm just not, I know this. So I started looking at this, and I thought, well, what's going to make me happy? And I realized, just embrace it, man. You don't want anything.
Mm-hmm.
So just embrace it. And, you know, staying with Tony Shea at his Airstream park.
Grab a water.
I had the opportunity to stay in an Airstream trailer. It doesn't have to be an Airstream. I just
Sure.
want something like an Airstream, because it was
Simple.
It was simple.
You went
and
from
light.
complex to a suitcase with the wheels falling off of it.
Yeah. Thank you.
To coming home.
No,
for you.
Oh, thank you.
To $2 million house. Cool. You know, it's crazy how the stars align. It's crazy how this happens. Cause I told you my experience being down, like, for my kids' spring break.
Yeah.
We
Where
bought
you
this
had
fifth
You
wheel
had this
trailer,
experience.
and we're staying at this RV park, which is like completely different than how I used to live. I mean, it was all about, like, you know, the Hotel Disney and the Ritz and the Marriott and the JWs and the nice and the things and this.
Done it.
And we're
And I
literally
hate it every
staying
time.
in this fifth wheel trailer that I bought in in an RV park, a trailer park, on the water. Granted, we're right on the water, which is absolutely spectacular.
Energy's there for that.
Oh my, dude, it was one of the cool. I'm sitting here thinking to myself, like, the energy of my kids, the connection that I had with them, sitting in that thing, playing games at night, sitting outside barbecuing, having a little fire on the beach,
Yeah.
like, and literally,
Joy of it all.
of every single thing that I've done, like the thought process, the contemplation. This is just 2 weeks ago. why the fuck am I doing all this other stuff where this is where I'm the most fulfilled?
Yeah.
This is where I'm connecting them. I sat and played football with my kids all day long on the beach, and we played wiffle ball, like real wiffle ball games versus like, all right, cool, I'll throw you 3 or 4 pitches and I'll jump back on my phone. We play fucking wiffle ball games
Hold on,
for like 2 hours, man, and it was like intense as shit.
Did everyone just hear the truth? the real wiffle ball game rather than, all right, let's go.
Yeah.
All right, I got to.
Well,
sorry, kid, I have a phone call.
Yeah, and you're on your phone while you're throwing the ball with the other hand, and it was like I'd leave my phone in the trailer, and we'd go out and we'd toss the ball, and I'm running routes with the kids, and it was like an hour of this here, an hour of that there, and we'd have a sandwich and and do their deal. But like the thing that was coolest to me was the people.
Yeah,
like
because they know this.
There wasn't one person in that entire place that said one condescending thing that was rude, that didn't whatever. In fact, it was the exact opposite. You know, they would see us. I dealt with a clogged toilet in my trailer, and I had problems with this and that, and literally had a hose that I went out and bought, and it was like 2 feet short to get to the freaking sewer thing. And so they were creating solutions, but people were just constantly coming up to me, almost like what you're saying, where you're like, give it 15 minutes, and then all of a sudden something would appear, and it was just kind of in this environment where it was simple. I'm in a trailer. I'm in a fifth wheel trailer that's got a bathroom and stove and kitchen and bedrooms, and the kids have their own beds and the whole thing. And it was like, this is the most fun I've had. This is where I want to be. Like, we're literally planning out our summer where that's going to be our recreation for the entire summer is this trailer. What RV parks are we going to go to? Where are we going to stay? What are we going to do? And it's all focused around that experience.
And here's my theory on this. One of my friends posted on Facebook, why do we hoard such stuff, right? Why are people so unhappy when we hoard so much stuff with our stuff? And here's my thing. It's my ultimate, I mean, this is going to, we don't need to get into politics, but we don't migrate anymore. We are not meant to stay in one place as humans this long. Sex at Dawn talks about this a lot. I mean, we inherently know this. This isn't like Garrett just came up with this, oh, he's so enlightened. And no shit, look at your history. Like, we migrated as humans, right? So the reason we do is we don't become attached to our stuff. We all know this. I'm not saying anything that anyone doesn't know. But the part that I don't think a lot of people talk about, because you have to discover it for yourself. You can even read it, but you have to discover this to know. And you had this. Is when you hang out with people and you migrate with people, we're all vulnerable. We're all wanting, we're there for a reason, and we're there to have experiences. We're there to emotionally survive. No, I'm not talking physically. We're there to emotionally survive. And so our state and our countenance change, and we're more real. And that's what happened to me. That's what happened in the RV park. I'm sure that's what happens at Burning Man, which I haven't been. I think I'll go this August. Yeah. But so I had that, and so I came back and I just decided I could have this. I'm not gonna. Nothing feels like home. Sure. So I'm gonna embrace that, because what is the most beautiful, energetic thing I'm feeling is taking my kids and going to places, having experiences, and it just hit me. Came all full circle, right back to the Airstream Trailer Park. I'm gonna get
from the Mint 400.
From the Mint 400.
From
the whole thing. It came
weeks
full
and
circle.
weeks and weeks before you went down.
I was such a stubborn son of a bitch. I had to go through all that process to figure out right where I started, and it was there. And I'm going to take my kids. We're going to live in Jackson Hole for a while. We're going to go live in the forest in Oregon. We're going to go live in Newport. We're going to go live in Zion's National, or St. George, like all these different things. They're going to have these rich experiences. And this doesn't mean the rest of my life. This is just where I'm supposed to be.
Where
at
you
my
are
state.
right
You
now.
might be 25, 26 listening to this. This may not be for you, or maybe it is.
Right.
You may be 45, you may be 75. This is exactly for you at this stage. There's no rules to say this is right for you now, but this is for me in my life. This is where I'm at. This is what I'm supposed to do. I've been so conflicted with my life. I set up, as a digital marketer, I've set up a company in a way where I could live with absolute freedom, and I haven't. And I've been so angry, and I couldn't identify why. And it's because I have all this available freedom, but I've stayed and I've never migrated. It's time to go. It's time to be free. It's time to let go. And so anyway, that's where at the end of the day, it doesn't have to be an Airstream. It can be anything, but I just want to go and I want to migrate, and I want my children to see these experiences over their summers, for a little bit of their summer's time, because I have the ability to do that. And if I have the ability, I should do it, because that's my responsibility. And I've been given this responsibility, and I haven't fulfilled it.
I think passive responsibility is also you just experience that.
Yeah, I had to experience
and
that.
you know what it's like. You know the dividend, the benefit, the value that came from that. Yeah. So transferring that to your kids, I think it's cool to note too that like you could go build a $2 million house right now. You know,
be miserable,
financially,
and depressed.
Well, not just that, but I think it's something to note. The people that are listening to this, who are, this isn't like Garrett like selling all of his stuff, going into the wilderness, broke, poor, panhandling to try and find the next level. I think it's very, very interesting to note that you do well financially.
Yeah.
You know, not to put you on the spot and talk about your finances or whatever, but you know, you do well financially. You could go build a $2 million home if you wanted to. You could go do these things and buy pretty much anything and everything that you wanted to. But the choice, the consciousness, the decision is to experience this even deeper, to experience this even fuller. I feel, dude, literally 2 weeks ago, we were at the freaking beach in LA on the water 2 weeks ago for my kids' spring break, and I'm going through this exact same thing. And I come home and I park my freaking RV in a 7,500 square foot home that overlooks the entire valley, that's absolutely beautiful, that's in a gated community, and I'm sitting there going like, I literally wish that I could load this son of a bitch back up and drive back down to California and be on the beach.
Yeah. So the next level to this is I look at what Tony Hsieh's done in Las Vegas with his little airstream. He's done a lot of stuff. Like,
oh, dude,
you guys need to study Tony Hsieh. Like,
he's incredible.
That guy's gonna change our world. But I got thinking about it, and I was like, what if I recreate something like that in the summers here, and I go buy a piece of land, maybe on holiday or somewhere like that, and have a little camp, summer camp type of a thing. Everyone comes with their trailers or their tiny houses. One of my good buddies, they own the reality TV show where they build tiny houses. And what if we just have our little, you know, kind of try to recreate what Tony's doing in Las Vegas here in Utah? And you know what, Sean? Maybe I do want that $2 million house at one point, and I already have the land for it when I'm done having a trailer park in there.
Yeah.
And mind you, this is a conscious, like, deliberate trailer park. This is like how Tony has this set up is like, no, this is the purpose.
Well, and
like,
the thing,
I'm a billionaire. Whatever.
The guy anybody who knows him knows he's freaking, he's got more money than he knows what to do with.
He's buying old Las Vegas and transforming.
I was going to say he's bought half of Las Vegas and stuff, and yet he chooses that. And I think if for me, my takeaway from this conversation is it's a choice.
Yeah.
And whether you're forced into that by missing a flight and all of a sudden it becomes a little bit, or you consciously like throw in the towel. Maybe it's throwing in the towel. Maybe it's throwing up your hands in the air. Maybe it's messaging me after this, messaging you after this, saying, what do I do? How do I do this? I think there's a level of consciousness that comes into this where people, they and this is why I want to have this conversation, is like people are looking for that. Like, look, I'm a CEO. I've got a business. I have a family. I can't just fucking go do this. Why not?
Yes, you can.
You did it. I've done it. Like, again, the rules, the constraints of the society that we live in, what normal, quote, normal is,
yeah,
I think is what's holding people back. And I think at the end of the day, my takeaway from this is like, at some point in time, my ticket's going to be punched, man. I don't know when it's going to be. I could walk out of this door and get hit by a fucking bus today. It might be a heart attack in 5 years.
Death rates have surpassed drunk driving death rates.
It's incredible. Like, I don't know, and this became my mortality became reality for me. And I've seen so many people die at a young age, and it's not a morbid thing, but I realize like I'm not getting any younger. I'm getting closer to that date, that whenever it is. And at the end of the day, like my personal biggest fear is not, making all the money or doing this or having statues or schools named after me or this, that, or the other. My biggest fear is that I'm laying on my deathbed, which chances are I won't. I'll die like in a fiery crash in my race truck or some other crazy, ridiculous thing.
Damn it, I'm going out in the blaze of
glory.
As long as that every day in high school, and it's happening.
If that's going to happen, just somebody please catch it on video so that we can, throw it online.
So we can monetize it.
Yeah, exactly. While I'm dead, but I'm not going to be laying on a deathbed. I'm fairly certain of it. But my single greatest fear is somehow being, whether I'm flipping over in a trophy truck or whether I'm laying on my deathbed, realizing that God, deity, the Almighty, the universe, whatever you want to call it, put ideas and wisdom up here and soul and passion in here, and that I squandered it, and that I didn't do it because the normal said that I shouldn't.
Yeah.
The preconceived notions of mom and dad and family and social media and what will people say, what will people think if I do go on this journey, if I do run around the fucking playa naked as a jaybird with a bunch of weirdos, like, what will people think? I will be breaking the norm, and you can't do that.
Yeah.
And my whole concept and my takeaway from this conversation is you can do whatever the hell you want. And if you want to be somebody different, if you want to choose that level of consciousness, just simply choose it and then create that reality.
Everyone that's judging you, because I was one of those guys.
Oh, yeah.
I'm telling you, I'm coming to you guys and
So
saying,
was
like,
I.
here's the person that would have judged you. So I understand them.
Yeah.
They want what you're going after, and they don't know how to articulate or feel that, and they want it so bad, so they only know how to scoff at it. It's as simple as the little boy in the playground that has the crush on the cute little girl, and so he's mean to her because he wants that
Picks on her.
connection. Yeah, he wants that connection. He wants that attention. It's the same thing, and so just surrender. Do what we've heard it a lot, and I think that you talk about the guy. I want to interrupt my pattern. I want to run around naked as a jaybird. You're not trying to change anyone. The only reason you do that is for yourself.
Yep.
And when you go to do it for everyone else, like look at me,
Yep.
that's where your intentions are wrong with that.
Yep.
Like my intentions, I was lucky. I shared a lot on social media. I do a lot of Instagram stories, and I shared a lot, and I didn't realize the effect that would have on both sides. Like massive people would be like, holy cow, something's happening to you. And massive people are like, dude, you're changing. This isn't good.
Mm-hmm. I didn't engage with you much. Like I sent like one or two messages, I think.
Yeah.
Because I saw it and I was like, cool.
You've been through it.
Well, and I've known you through, not just this experience, but through getting separated, through the experiences, through
you saw my last 2-year transition.
last 2 years. And so I kind of, as someone who has been there and is still there, I'm still bang, bang. I'm still throwing mattresses in my front yard, screaming at myself, pretending I'm the universe, acting like a total weirdo. So I get it. But like, I'm watching that, just smiling ear to ear. Cause I'm like, good, good. Cause where it goes, who fucking knows? Like where the insanity lands, who the hell knows? But it's beautiful. The whole experience is freaking beautiful.
Do you want to know the most beautiful thing you just said? It just triggered something in me. I got a book when I graduated high school. And look, I went on an LDS mission, and I should have went for 1 year. My biggest regret is not coming home. I had no reason to come home. Like, if you guys understand the LDS mission culture, I'm perfectly normal, great missionary, whatever. I wasn't happy. And that was my, no one else knows. You know what you're supposed to be doing in your life. Don't follow the guidelines of what our institution or you know. Before I graduated high school, I got a book from really special. It's kind of like my second mom. Her name is Jolene Johnson, and it was the Dr. Seuss book, "Oh, the Places You'll Go." And it's the most beautiful story ever, right? And that was a feeling. Like at that young age, that was something to me. But the last year of my mission, something died with that, right? Or suppress it so hard, and then you come home and you build the life, you build the whole thing, blah blah blah. You get the mundane thing of life, which maybe just needs to happen.
Right.
I wish I would have traveled. I wish I would have, go places. It doesn't need to be some exotic place and there, like, right? You can have these experiences in your own little element, your own state. It's more about here than geographically.
Yeah.
And just go and have these. It takes practice. It does. It takes practice, and it's uncomfortable. I was scared. One last thing about this, man. Everyone kept messaging like, "What the hell, dude? Like, you're gonna get stabbed. The cartel's gonna get you. All these things, I ended up in that little surf village, and even more so in this little spiritual community hours away from that. But there's these buck 10, buck 15, girl, 115-pound girls running around from Europe or the UK or the US or wherever, blonde, totally like not a native. And I'm just like been traveling solo for 4 months, and I'm supposed to like somehow be like, well, this just probably isn't safe for Garrett, So that gave me a lot of courage to be like, you know what, it's time for me to start seeing this world,
right?
Because you're right, it can end anytime. We all know this. This is nothing new to anyone. It could all end anytime, and it's time for me to go out and live a life and see this world. because I'm not going to really provide much value for other people or myself even if I continue. What got me here won't get me there.
Yeah.
It's time to go.
The high tide lifts all the boats. It's funny because I never camped one time in my marriage. We never went camping once.
Not once.
In
the fifth well we did, but yeah.
We never did. We never did. And I got divorced, and I bought a 4Runner and was like, yes, I have this
Freedom.
dominating off-road vehicle that's going to take me into my wilderness, right? It's going to be even more accessible into my wilderness. Why the fuck would I walk up a mountain when I can just drive up a mountain,
Yeah.
right? Same mentality. And I drove to Moab, which was like 3 hours from my house, and it was the first time I'd ever been there. And that experience, like I know every trail in Moab. I've been down there dozens and dozens and dozens of times since my divorce, and it was that experience of saying, like, I want to go see something new. I want to go experience something new, and it completely altered my reality of travel and where to go.
Yeah.
And I'll find myself now just showing up and going different places without any agenda, without any expectation, just to go experience something new. Breaking up. I talk about that a lot with coaching and with clients is pattern interrupts. I call them pattern interrupts, because we get so stuck in these patterns that even a one-day experience, like if you're used to working in this cubicle or in this office or this space, literally take your laptop or your computer or whatever and go work from a coffee shop for the day.
Yeah.
Or go call a buddy who has a conference room that you can just use and just shift up this reality for a day.
Yeah.
And I think
And the more you live in pattern interrupts, the more you are
you never get complacent.
and you become stronger with them, and you have a more fulfilled, rich life. Like, your patterns are meant to be interrupted.
Right.
Like, and sometimes you got to manufacture those interruptions by doing that. But once you start living that way, then it just starts happening. You live a richer, fuller life, and people see that. They come to you. Like, you've went through your change. People come up to you. I see it all the time in the gym where people come up like, I need to talk to you.
Yeah.
Like, people, they'll come. Like, they'll come to you. Those rich experiences will come to you. Those meaningful relationships will come to you. You just got to get out of the way and just be.
Final message. What's your last message to everybody listening to this? Because we could go on for hours and hours, and I think we should. I think we should call Tony and get Tony on here. I think we should call a couple other people and have like a bigger roundtable conversation of.
I would love that.
Which would be.
So do you know who
we should do a podcast down there. We should do another podcast from the trailer park down there in Vegas, and
that would be beautiful.
Do
do you know who Cameron Haynes is?
Yeah.
So you know people that are tied to Cameron Haynes. You just don't know this yet.
Right.
Who's very close to Joe.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I'm just saying, if you
Joe and Cameron
Yes.
hunt and bow hunt and
Yes.
the whole thing. That's why, dude, I'm not.
but you're
kidding
tied
you.
to people that are tied to Cameron. Just so you know, you just don't realize that.
It's almost every day, and you've seen this, Jake. I mean, people are tweeting, like, literally yesterday. 2 different people tweeted, Joe, when are you going to have Sean on your podcast?
Oh,
These
cool.
are 2 people that don't even know.
Oh, cool. All right.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's kind of like, again, the universe conspires when you're
So just surrender.
shutting up
Just-
for 15 minutes.
it'll
We'll
come.
bring the mushroom man in, and we'll bring this person in, and we'll bring the banana.
I can see
lady
the headline
in.
of this: Garrett, drug user.
We're going to have to come up with a
Like
really,
someone that
really
was
good
so
one.
like not that. All of a sudden, in one day, is branded that.
honey mushrooms in Mexico.
Honey buckets.
Honey mushrooms in Mexico. No, but I mean, I fully. That's why I said beginning of this. I made a declaration that in 2017 I would be on Joe Rogan's podcast.
Yeah.
And I would love to. In fact, he's coming to Salt Lake.
Okay.
In the summertime, and I want to try and find a way to get him on my podcast.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, if you just shut up and listen, if you just surrender, not in this feminist I give up, but in a way where you're almost saying, okay, teach me more, give me more, share with me more.
Yeah.
It's there. All of the lessons, all of the experiences, whether it's regarding money, health, business, relationships. The quote that you said, I mean,
What you're looking for is what's looking.
what you're looking for is what's looking. It's fucking right there. That's the thing that's boggling my mind, is like, I'm the one standing in my own way. I'm the one holding me back from deeper, from more. I'm the one for the last 6 months who's been suppressing this dark warrior, this darkness that's inside of me that I used to celebrate because he was a creator and he helped me do good shit. And I tried to suppress him, and all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, I see it again.
Yeah.
And it's a constant reminder and constant leveling up and constant evolution of lessons here. But at the end of the day, I think people listening to this, like, you know, what you get from this, you get from this. what you take from this, you
Yeah.
take from this. But I think understanding the idea that you very, 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 in a very masculine way can surrender. And in a very real alpha way, without like turning into a radical feminist, thinking that it's this thing that's soft, that's not manly.
No, not it
It's
has
more
nothing
manly
to do
than
with
anything
that.
you could do.
Look, if you think God is manly or God is feminine, whatever it is, this comes from God. So this is not hippie. Like,
Yeah.
don't think like that. If I'm not like, you know, I don't even know the masculine feminine thing. I'm so attracted to like discovering more, and I have been discovering more on this. I have for a while, but when you can surrender as a man and let her and let, you know, and I'm not saying this in a romantic way. This is like the experiences I had that had nothing to do with romance, had nothing to do with that. But I meet these incredible, intelligent, enlightened women. And when you can just surrender and be like, not like, just get away, like trying to pursue that, stop trying to control and manipulate anything that's there. They will open up and they run the world. There's something within them that is so powerful that you need as you're at home drinking beer, stubborn. I'm a man. I lift weights. I'm a musclehead. I don't know what you are, whatever's going on there. A meathead, that's the word that you need. And when you get more of that, then more will come to you. Like it's just, it needs to happen. And so, yeah, I think that overall, the number one thing I could say, and I've said it the word 100 times, that go and experiment with your own surrendering. And the book is called The Surrender Experiment. That's what, like I said, that's what kicked this whole thing off. There's a lot of things that kicked it off, but that's where I learned like what you say, you know, we talked about luck. We talked about that a little bit earlier. It wasn't until I read the book where things happened that I'm like, oh, is that, I could identify that I could do this.
Yeah.
So I just encourage everyone, you know, to do that. And it doesn't take you going to Mexico and having what I had. However, I would, if you can do that, go. It doesn't have to be Mexico. You can be anywhere. I mean, so my schedule for my life I would like to have is, this is bizarre to think about this, but this is what I want. In March, I'm going to live in my Airstream. March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. Those months here in Utah or traveling, whatever. I don't want to live in my trailer during December, January, and February. I don't want those harsh months here. I just don't want to. So I'm going to Airbnb a house in December, and then Airbnb a different place in January. Heck, I could do that 7 different times within Utah. I'm into this now. It's kind of my thing. And then guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to go disappear during those mid-February to March, you know, into January, February, hardcore March, that first part of March. I'm going to disappear again. I'm probably going to go back to South Africa. I think that's my next one next year. Or I could go down deeper into, yes.
I'm climbing Kilimanjaro next fall.
Are you? I've never done it.
She hasn't asked for the time off yet, so she might not. We'll see.
You could come. There you go. So I'm going to go, you know, that's the kind of pattern. And this isn't going to be my life forever, but this is the life that I've honestly been creating for myself for quite a while. I just never did because I didn't have the courage to do that. And so when you put yourself out there and you have the courage and you take those risks and get rid of all this crap that weighs you down, just freaking get rid of all this bullshit that just weighs you down, that thinks I can't do that because I have to pay for these things. Like, just eliminate all this crap that you think is going to bring you joy and happiness and fulfillment. If you can afford this stuff, then afford it, but don't let it limit you. But if that's what's limiting you, you need a change. You need to get rid of this, and you need to be able to go free and travel light. If you are not in a position to migrate, you're doing it wrong.
Mm-hmm. Dude, that's freaking good. That's a good.
Yeah.
If you're not in a position to migrate, you're doing it wrong. Will you write that down? That's a great quote.
I like that.
We're quoting you on that.
Thank
if
you.
you're not in a position to migrate, and I fully agree, dude.
Yeah.
I think not only migrating physically, but I think the mental and the emotional migration of life, of constantly moving into a different place and wanting that.
Yeah.
I think that's what makes life so fun for me right now. Why standing in my driveway, throwing a mattress, screaming at myself, bawling my eyes out, and then smiling my ass off as I'm writing this like profound post was so brilliant for me, because I want to migrate. I want more. And the universe is like wanting to give it to me. And I'm kind of like, no, I'm going to stand over here like a freaking dumbass while you're trying to give me all this shit. And then all of a sudden you get it and you're like, God damn it. I'm going to be better next time. And next time
Yeah.
It'll be easier. It'll be easier. But
Yeah.
dude, I appreciate it, man. Like,
Thank
I
you.
want to talk. We're gonna do another podcast here with Garrett. We're gonna talk about the migration, how to do that, because I'm infatuated with that, because the rules of life and home ownership and what it should be and how to like free yourself up is a really, really, really fascinating conversation, because we're not the only ones talking about this. We're not the only ones doing this.
No.
But I think it's really cool to have that ability to be able to move.
Yeah.
And to still have a life where kids can have stability, they can have a school, they can have a life, they can have friends, they can have whatever, but still be able to migrate and move to keep the mind, the soul, the body, everything learning and growing. I think is a really cool conversation. So we're gonna talk about that
Okay,
stuff.
I would love
next
to.
time. So,
Yeah,
dude,
this
thanks
is just
for,
starting, and here we
thanks
go.
for sharing, man. I think this is our longest podcast. Jake, is this our longest podcast?
Yeah.
This is good. I like it. At least we know now we have the technology to be able to extend out that far and do that. But dude, thanks for sharing with us.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.
I appreciate
So,
it.
You guys can find Garrett on Facebook, on Instagram.
Yeah, mostly Instagram is what I do, but Facebook too.
Hit him up. I'm sure he's willing to go deeper with the right people and stuff like that. But as always, my friends, thank you for listening. Very much appreciate it. If you appreciate the podcast, please share it. Please comment. Please like it. If this resonates with you, especially share it with your friends, with anybody you think that needs to hear about this journey, and most importantly, surrendering. So, my friends, until next time, see you later. God bless
Thank you.
America.
What's your Instagram?
It's my name, Garrett Robins. So 2 R's, 2 T's, 1 B in Robins.